sure how long it's gonna hold. There's warning lights everywhere. Abort! Abort! We've lost comms. Look out. It's out of control. Are you okay?
Yes, so far we're okay. Welcome to the date. This is Rick Hard is David, and this is the date. Today's date is the 24th of July, 1:53 p.m. And we're back on Pontius Pilate hating on the conscious Israelites. In the last episode, of course, we were talking about some of the books that we have been recommending. Hot black reads for all you wicked Negroes out there. And of course, you reformed white satanic people. I know a lot of you are just coming to the fact that the Israelites are real and Jesus is black. And this is where you can come and recover and, find a new start. I appreciate all of you Klansmen out there who are turning a new leaf. So this is for you. So the Scythian is one of the book I wanted to do an actual read because this is about the white race in antiquity and the philosophy and doctrine of war. But before that, we do have some guests today. We have our friend, I know she was popular last time, BANNMF is here, and Steve is in the house, and Miss X is in the house. So welcome aboard, folks. Of course, this is the show that's not afraid to talk and
break walls.
we're breaking walls here. Any thoughts first? I mean, because we were talking about a lot of the books, like the Scythians being one, Herod the Great. In this episode, the Negro rulers of Scotland and the British Isles, right? And there were some other. One thing I wanted to cover was the investigation points to FBI conspiracy to silence Martin Luther King Jr. So makes for good reading, and I want to get some critique on this because the family of Martin Luther King did sue the American government, and they won, claiming that Martin Luther King was assassinated in the hospital. So that means when he actually had the bullet, he still lived. So let's take a quick excerpt from this. This is the investigation and the papers, the actual death of Dr. Martin Luther King, and this was January. Here, I'm just gonna adjust this so we can kind of get a better look. But this is this was the deposition, January 14th, 2016. So what is said here is that, in a nutshell, these are the people basically telling you what happened. So William Pepper, who wrote the book The Plot to Kill King, basically captured a lot of the deposition, right? And Jonathan Shelby, right? Coretta Scott King versus Lloyd Jowers in 2014. Now, Lloyd Jowers was the guy who, this is where it gets complicated, after King was shot, it was said someone was in the bushes and from the hotel and all of this stuff. A gun belonged to, we know today, Lloyd Jowers. He's probably deceased now, but the gun belonged to him, and he did confess that it was part of an operation with the government. I'm just going to get straight here. There were some questions and answers. So, what did she say? All right, well, let's go here. Did you speak that evening at all about it with your mother? She called later on that evening and spoke to my older brother, and she got to say they won't let her come home. So this is just, from what I'm seeing here, they're talking about one of the nurses who worked there, right? And she worked at St. Joseph's Hospital. So I'm just going to read some of this deposition here because it's very, this is the part. It's very, very tragic. I know there are people out there who will just say, oh, well, he was just shot, right? No, it wasn't that. Here, this deposition. All right, so it goes like this. Question, and who was there with him? So this is the nurse saying, there was, when he walked in there was two guys. I'm going to have to bring this down so we can unfortunately see it a little better. Let me see if I can bring up my screen. Once again, thank you very much for turning in to the date. I think this could probably do it. There. Right. So, okay. So the word is, the question after he said, the head of surgery said, stop working on that nigger and let him die. What did he say after that? What happened after that? That was the question. All of you, get out of here. Get out of here. He threw them out of there. Everybody. Your mother was one of the people that had to get out. One of the people, last people to hit that door. So that's the daughter of the nurse. What did she hear or notice as she was leaving? Hawking. Hawking? What do you mean hawking? Like getting ready to spit. So they're saying, okay, so the story is Martin Luther King was brought to St. Joseph Hospital, brought to a neurological center where there was a doctor by the name of Dr. Breen. Dr. Breen, the head surgeon, when Martin Luther King's body arrived at St. Joseph Hospital, was supposed to tend it. But instead of doing that, he threw everyone out of the room. Are you following so far?
Oh, yeah.
One of the nurses who's giving the deposition, her daughter's still alive, telling them this is what was happening. So the mother says, or the nurse said, what did she hear? What did she notice as she was leaving? Hawking. Hawking, what do you mean? Like getting ready to spit. So hawking would be, when somebody brings up their mucus. And she heard that. She looked back and she saw them spit. And then when she looked back, what did she see? She didn't see them pull the air tube out. She heard it. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Did she see them spit or did she just hear them spit? She saw them spit. The first guy spit. Now they're doing this on Martin Luther King. Get it? It's not just, so he's still alive. So people who are out there fucking sleeping, thinking, oh, he just got shot in the head and civil rights is okay. It's 1960. We all love it. No, that's bullshit. I'm here educating the public to let you know how insidious and how deep it went to kill Martin Luther King because he wasn't dead after the bullet. The bullet didn't kill him. That's why they brought him to the neurological hospital. So this guy, Dr. Breen, hooks up a hoagie and spits on the still living Martin Luther King. He's in the hospital. So it continues. So she heard that, she looked back, and she saw them spit. And then when she looked back, what did she see? She didn't see them pull the air tube out. So he had the air tube. She heard it also, shoo, 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 spit, spit, spit. Did she see them spit or did she just hear them spit? She saw them spit. The first guy spit, that's when she heard the hawking up. So she meant the hawking up. And the other guy spit. They were spitting on the body? Yes. And the breathing tube removed? Yes. Oh, that wasn't smart. Well, I just... Okay, so the breathing... Okay, so when she heard that... So tell us about when she said the pillow. Tell us about the pillow. What do you mean the pillow? The guy picked up the pillow and went over his head like that. The head of surgery picked up the pillow, and what did he do with the pillow? He put it over his head. So, Steve, what are you thinking about murder, right?
In the hospital.
Right.
Not improper medical care.
Exactly. So they were spitting in the body, the breathing tube had been removed, and what did she see after that? The pillow. So, tell us about the pillow. What do you mean the pillow? The guy picked up the pillow and went over his head like that. The head of surgery picked up the pillow, and what did he do with the pillow? The answer, put it over his head. He put it over his head, over his face to block his breathing. Yes. So did she say how long the pillow was there, or was she just then, she was walking out the door? So, with that being said, what's your take on this, Steve?
It seems that there's a setup. It seems like that they're looking for an excuse to remove Martin Luther King Jr. from the earth.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity when he was shot.
So the opportunity was there when he was shot, but this is how far they went. So tell us about the pillow. I'm going to read it once again, all right, with the audience, and this is for the audience to learn and understand what's going on, right? Tell us about the pillow. What do you mean, the pillow? Well, The guy picked up the pillow and went over his head, right? Like that. The head of surgery picked up the pillow, and what did he do with the pillow?
Suffocated.
Suffocate him. He put it over his head. So, he put it over his head and put it over his face. Over his face to block his breathing. Right? Yes. Did anybody catch what I just fucking said? Are you all there? How did they kill Martin Luther King? Quiz.
With a gun.
You see, you didn't
With a
listen.
pillow in the hospital.
You weren't listening. Right? With our guest. I'm going to repeat it again. If we're paying attention, okay? When,
In the hospital.
what then did she see after that? The pillow. The fucking pillow. So what fucking bullet are we talking about? I was just telling you for the last 5 minutes, that's the case. So the pillow, tell us about what do you mean the pillow? I'm going to repeat it again. The guy picked up the pillow and went over his head like that. Now, most people with common sense in this real fucking world would say, well, look, are you telling us that Martin Luther King, you're telling us that our American government was lying about the murder of Martin Luther King?
Yes.
Now, of course, a lot of
They lied
niggers.
about the other assassinations that happened within the United
And to
States.
who? To all the niggers. So the reason why I use that
Also
language,
a government leader.
there you go. But most niggers won't listen to that. Niggers are going to still say, well, he got shot in the head. I thought that was it. No! This religious nigger who told everybody, I love you, let's get everyone together, the Dixie Mafia is real. The American government was involved. The CIA and the FBI. And they put a fucking pillow over his head. So we just blew the narrative. The head of surgery picked up a pillow, and what did he do with the pillow? This is the question. Put it over his head. He put
Killed him.
There you go. He put it over his head, over his face. This is the deposition, over his face. To block his breathing? Yes. Did she say how long the pillow was there? Or was she just then, she was walking out the door? All right, so she told this to all of you? She got, yes. The more I think about it now, I think she got away with it because they was killing a man. Everybody's attention was on what he was doing, including the people with the guns. They wasn't looking at her. So she slowed down as she was going out. Okay, so she was outside. Did she see? She saw many military people around in uniform outside? Answer. She saw in the hall, she said, 2 guys outside the door. 2 military, I guess. National Guard. Now, you know who the National Guard is. When shit goes on, they're the guys who are supposed to come out before a war. What are they doing? She saw a lot of police. There was a lot of them outside, but they didn't let them out. They told him they couldn't leave to go wherever they was going, whatever room they sent them to. Did you come to believe that the officials at the hospital told everyone not to speak at all about what happened there? My mother never said that. But Dorothy Bryant, when I called her for you, that came out of her mouth when I called her. What did she say? They told all of us not to say a word. They told, whatever you know, don't talk. They told all of them not to say a word, every one of them. And what would happen if they had said a word? What would happen? Lose their job. Right? So this was the deposition of Martin Luther King, right? Here's another juicy one. This one actually goes on Dr. Bland's role, right? This is the guy who suffocated him.
This is another case of forbidden, uncommon criminal knowledge.
Exactly. Exactly. So then what happened? Somebody was saying, I think she said they found a single slight pulse. And that's when the man walked in the door and said, everybody stop working. I mean, you all stop. Let that nigga die. Quote unquote. So somebody walked in the room. Was that Dr. Breen Bland? That's his name. She didn't call no name. She just said it was the head of surgery. She knew that person. She knew who he was. He was the head of surgery? Yes. So the background information on Dr. Bland's role, okay? Under oath, told me that Dr. Breen Bland, who remember was also the Atkins family doctor, was in fact the head surgeon at the hospital. He was present and overheard conversations between his father and Dr. Bland. And then, following his father's death, between his brother Russell Jr., police and fire director, oh my God, there's a lot of fucking people involved in this, Frank Holman and Dr. Bland, about the importance of Dr. King being taken to St. Joseph's if he was still alive. What they do in secret, right? Ron recalls that Dr. Bland was prepared to give him a certain lethal injection if it became necessary. It almost sounds like Rasputin, right? How many times did they try to kill him until he drowned? And he still didn't die. He probably, but this is the perfect case. So, hear this. In a deposition under oath on December 10th, 2009, Ron Tyler Atkins said, there was a man, Marel McCullough, a black military intelligence operative deployed undercover with the local police and had become part of King's Memphis retinue that was assigned to get King before anyone could run up from anyone to get King and make sure he was dead. So that's a nigger right there. They did this in 1968. They said, look, let's get us a coon. I reserve the right to say nigger and coon. And also fair use. So McCullough, Marel McCullough, remember this name, all right? Just like, well, of course, the Black Panthers, right? When you're talking about what happened to Fred, I forget the last name there, and all those great speakers, his son's alive. Hey, I give it to them for the new Black Panthers, right? Fred Hampton Jr., he's my age, he's in his 50, 55. But come on, Black Panthers ain't nothing like it was in the 60s. So, this guy, a black military intelligence operative, like the good old slave times, right? You heard that, eh? In 1968? How's that? Okay, I digress. Deployed undercover with local police and had become part of King's Memphis retinue. So they put that Negro as a bait, just like Malcolm X. We know it was another brother that knocked him out, right? Because the white guys never, they can buy us out. So this guy that was assigned to get King before anyone could get him and make sure he was dead. It was already arranged that before Dr. King left here, that he was to go to St. Joseph's Hospital down the street. So, are we still getting wicked now? Right? This is the plan. They're saying this was the plan. It was already arranged that before Dr. King left here, that he was to go to St. Joseph down the street. He was never going to make it out of that emergency alive if he was wounded. Why? Well, they was going to put him to sleep. Who was going to do that? I figured Dr. Bland was going to do it. I knew what his job was to do because Junior and Mother had already told me if he made it through, they was not going to let him go to Baptist Church, Baptist Hospital, I guess. They was not going to let him go. John Gaston, the hospital that saw most of the gunshots and stabbings, they were going to take him to St. Joe. So Bland's office is right here. St. Joe is sitting right here, 50 yards across the parking lot. After the shooting, I watched for Dr. Bland. I saw Dr. Bland leave out of the front and head for the front of the hospital. He is listed on the death certificate. And who was there with him? Well, there was when he walked in there were two guys with suits on. I can tell you what color because she didn't say what color suits they had on. And then think she said state troopers came in there with their rifles and two was outside. So this basically, as you see right here, King Death Shall Be Disposition tells you. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up was I had seen it with the Israelites that when they did cover a few months back about the death of Martin Luther King. If I'm correct, this was in April. He was assassinated, 68. My generation, myself, born in September 68, right? Here we are today. We grew up believing that the guy got popped in the head, right, with a simple bullet. But it took nearly 40 nearly 50 years, as old as me now, to hear the truth. So if you don't tell me something's not wrong with that, right? Well, maybe not in 2024, 25, but what I can tell you is the truth. Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered. And as you see here in this deposition, you can also download the deposition as I have it here, right here on the date. It is the 24th of July. It is now 2:13 p.m. I like to call this digital free vestibule instead of radio because you know what? You can't really play music on the internet because it's that whole thing. So that was a little something I wanted to share about the truth of Martin Luther King. And as I'm scrolling here, we see nothing's really changed, right? Right? Who was Pontius Pilate? Like nothing's changed, right? And of course, I leave this up to you, all you wicked Negroes out there, to take the time to read. Because when you're out there going out doing the gang thing and shooting each other, you know you're working for the devil. You know you're working for the bikers, you're working for the military, you're working for anybody, and they don't give a shit about you. So you have no confidence in yourself whatsoever. And you've been so destructed in the last 30 years of, how can I say, a type of mass psychosis that put us as the enemy every single where we went, and Hillary Clinton calling us a predator. That myth, I like to use the best example of King Kong. A lot of people did not know that King Kong was a representative of the boxing legend. Who was the boxing legend of that time? The black guy.
Muhammad Ali.
No, before that. Before. You're talking back in the early century. That would be, let me see here. So King Kong was basically a spoof on the boxer. I'm just going to try and pull this up if I can. King Kong, all right, I'll share this tab. Loosely based on the boxer. I'm going to try to find that boxer, but let me see here. King Kong, because I can't remember his name. Box, no, that would be uh, Boxer Black. Sometimes you got to ask Google. Based on Black Boxer. Look at that, isn't? See, so this is it. It's telling you Jack Johnson, right? So you know what? Let's pull it up on a tube and let the brother explain it to you.
Break down the King Kong syndrome to me. You mentioned that a couple of times. What's the King Kong syndrome?
Okay. There's a man named Donald Bogle who spoke about, he's a film historian. He spoke about and wrote about the primary images of blacks in media. For males, he said, females, he said it was the mammy, the tragic mulatto, right? For males, it was the Uncle Tom, the coon, now the sidekick, and the buck. Now, what's the buck? Now, buck is where you get the term buck naked from, right? Sometimes you say butt naked, but it's really buck naked. Why is it buck naked? Because the buck was the black man who was in the field working, the field Negro, who had no clothes on.
And to add with that, as the buck. Now there's documentaries that's known as buck breaking. Buck breaking, basically, just the quick and end of it, but he'll give you more. The Negroes who were slaves, and this is going into the Jack Johnson theory, the wicked brute, big dicked black beast, right? That was something that was created by the slave masters via something called buck breaking. A lot of homoeroticism in this, because that's the kind of mentality, as BANNMF would say, gonad worship. So these were people that would be eating niggers. Yeah, they'd be cutting off their dicks. The hot dog, that's where it comes from, right? It's always got to have some type of thing with that. So butt breaking was something that slave masters used to do when they took the slaves off the boat. They literally, and if you read up on Willie Lynch, the Willie Lynch letter, they split Negroes. They got them to the white guys, those guys with the curly wigs, they were banging all the hardest, biggest, baddest Negroes, the biggest, blackest dicks. They were raping him in front of his child, his baby, his wife. And they did that to any other nigger who thought he was big and bad. But They made them big and bad to breed. So we call it buck breaking is also breeding. So those big brawn black guys, they were already feminized. If they didn't have their dicks cut off, they were there, the best ones anyways, and sometimes they were not appealing. That's where they got the angry nigger from. Those guys would get whipped, dipped, chipped, raped, and then, hey, do us that favor, boy, you're a horse, steed all these women. So, all of that to fast forward, buck breaking is something that wasn't created by us, and this myth of the angry black big dicked man, to the point where you can have a book, Black Like Me, written by some white guy who put fucking black makeup on his face in the 50s. And all of that book was based on just the talk to figure, hey, black men apparently, don't talk about their dicks and their sexcapades. Isn't that fucked up?
Ashe!
Do you want to throw anything? Throw in a comment onto that.
Thank you.
So just before I let this Negro here say something, we got to understand that buck breaking was the ritual for this went on and still goes on now. That's why a lot of we don't give a fuck. Black people, black
It still
men.
happens when the kids go to jail
Yes.
and the mental institutions.
There.
They drug them and they fuck them in the ass and then they put them on the street and the angry black kids goes and do it to somebody else.
1,000%.
And then they say the kid is angry.
100
But
out of 100.
the kid is just responding to the trauma that it's been introduced to, the drugs that they put in them, also controlling them mentally to think it's okay. Because this long-haired white whatever raped me and told me too I can go do it to others. You have it.
There you
Well, I
go.
can tell you a personal story. I have a wonderful cousin in London, England, and he was put in an institution because my uncle couldn't take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he doesn't want to have anything with the relatives.
Right.
And I went there for the funeral.
Right.
And I'm like, Mark, but I'm doing everything I can to befriend him.
Right.
He
And
says,
next.
do you know why I'm gay?
Huh.
And when he told me the story of how he became gay, it brought tears to my eyes. I'm not going to share it all there, but you pretty know where I'm going. Because when the young kids came into the home, the older kids came into the room and screwed them, and the teachers knew, and the teachers did it to them.
Yes. It's in the education, of course.
And Mark doesn't want to have anything to do with the relatives because he said when he was a baby, his daddy couldn't take care of him, and no one in the relatives came and stood up for him, and they put him in a home for boys, and he was raped for years. Now he's gay, he doesn't want to have anything to do with nobody. And he's a ballet dancer, international ballet dancer. That's what saved him. Because a teacher took compassion on him because he was always jumping around because of the pain in his butt. And it turned around that he loved dancing, and the teacher taught him to be a ballet dancer. He's now an international. He has a school actually, and uses my last name. Oh yeah, this has been going on for a long time. Thank you, bro, for bringing it.
Well,
thank you for the internet.
I'm glad that you see, and this is why I do this show. Like I said, it's for you wicked niggers out there and you wicked Klansmen. And part of even what the Israelites are trying to do is to say, you know what, we got to stop working for the devil. And of course, when we say the white man, it doesn't mean the white people. It means the nation, right? The nation being biblically, I'm not no biblical scholar, but we do know that the what do you call them? Those horns? Well, that's NATO, right? And you wanted to mention something.
Look, I always bring in the other side, the side where I've actually decided the word to use is the dominator or the bully, because I have seen scores of white men actually being dominated in the same way by another white bully who saw them as threats to his domain. Huh? And I didn't actually personally see it visually, but I've had white men actually come to me and show me that they now are pussycats. And it's a horror story because we have all of these very intelligent, creative, competent, capable people in no matter what package they come in. And by package, I mean race and color and language and culture. No matter what package they come in, they have contributions to make to our planet at this point in our history. And we really need their contribution. We need their mission. We need their courage. We need their strength. And we need their embrace that they can reach out to us and work with everybody. Huh? And understand that we don't choose our package, but boy, we choose what we do with it.
So it's all, once again, it boils down to genitalia. And from what I've understood, it's always this threat. And does that threat, in case of the, I mean, you'd have to be, it says a lot about the slave masters, right? It says that they were probably, I guess today we call it non-binary, and also they happen to have a kink and a fetish for the brothers, way back, way back. So now that we covered that, let's hear what this bro's got to say about Jack Johnson and King Kong.
And because he was in the field doing physical labor, he was big and he was strong. He was virile. He was that mandingo, right?
Dingo.
So King Kong basically is the big buck who's out of control for the going for the white woman. When you see the first King Kong in the 1930s, you know, the people on Kong Island, you know, they saw the white woman, and it was so foolish, right? It was this island that wasn't even on the map. That these natives who of course were black, you know, they went to this island. There was an interpreter there who was able to speak the language, right? And the interpreter like, they want to trade you 20 other women for that white for her. We don't want to do it. So King Kong was, you know, behind, you know, some barrier. All of a sudden he sees a white woman and he goes crazy and wants to break free, right? They end up knocking him out, bringing him in chains across the ocean to the United States. What's that remind you of? Big black man being brought in chains across the ocean. Anyway, so then the movie, you know, he sees the white woman again. He grabs her, climbs up the Empire State Building, which again is a white phallic symbol. And when he ends up being killed on that phallic symbol because that's the white power structure. So the big black out of control buck has to be killed. It will be killed by the stronger white penis.
So the tower, right? The Empire State Building that King Kong was on, is supposed to be a white dick. Because they were like, the monkey can't be like doing whatever he's doing. I think it's hilarious. Only because we still live in that today. So I learned about King Kong actually as a film student because, you know, and of course Jack Johnson, the boxer, for some of you millennials out there who don't know who Jack Johnson is, he was a boxer, bigger than Muhammad Ali. Steve, you made a good call, but we're going back, right? It was way before Muhammad Ali. And of course, here we are. Let me share this tab. So the boxer, what this is, so we can put the context together. The boxer that you're talking about here is Jack Johnson. This is the first, like the only black boxer, the best black boxer of the time who beat the fuck out of many white boxers, Jack Johnson, right? And he was known to make a lot of money. He was way more popular than Muhammad Ali eventually, right? Because they had to get a boxer called the Great White Hope to try and beat him. The Great White Hope. So this guy was an undisputed, you know, champion. So John Arthur Johnson, March 31st, 1878 to June 10th, 1946, nicknamed the Galveston Giant, was an American boxer who at the height of the Jim Crow era became the first black world heavyweight boxing champion between 1908 to 1915. his 1910 fight against James J. Jeffries, this dude, right? You could see he wasn't going to be winning much, was dubbed the fight of the century. Johnson defeated Jeffries, who was white, triggering. Now, buzz this. This is what gets like, look, this is 19 what something? 1910? I'm going to repeat it again. Against, let's take a quick look at this guy, Jeffries, for a second here. I'm going to open him in a new tab. Let's get the context. So this guy here, right? He was the shit. Think of the context. We're going back in time here, right? This guy got his ass kicked by this guy, right? So, okay, so Johnson defeated Jeffries, who was white, triggering, I love this, dozens of race riots across the U.S. According to filmmaker Ken Burns, he's a very good guy. I love his documentary. For more than 13 years, Jack Johnson was the most famous and the most notorious black boxer on earth. 1906, right? That's a different thing. He was widely regarded as one of the most influential boxers in history. Transcending boxing, he became part of the culture and history of racism in the United States. 1912, Johnson opened in 1912 a successful and luxurious black and tan desegregated restaurant and nightclub, which in part was run by his wife, a white woman. Major papers of the time soon claimed that Johnson was attacked by the government only after he became famous as a black man married to a white woman and was linked to other white women. So this guy was getting some. Johnson was arrested on charges of violating the Mann Act. So it was because of this guy, this shit happened. The Mann Act, which was also called, it's the White Slave Traffic Act. So bogus, eh? It's called the Mann Act. It's a United States federal law passed in June 25th, 1910. It's named after this guy who basically, like, no niggers crossing anywhere with white women. That's basically it. This is the act. It still exists, right? Forbidding one to transport a woman across the state lines for immoral purposes. A racially motivated charge that embroiled him in controversy for his relationships, including marriages. He was sentenced to a year in prison. Johnson fled the country and fought boxing matches abroad for 7 years until 1920, when he served his sentence at the federal penitentiary. Why? Because he was just getting white pussy, right? So, look at this. And only in 2018, with some instigation from actor Sylvester Stallone, was for, like, what the fuck? Sylvester Stallone, he's not a boxer, okay? Get over that shit. Rocky was stolen.
He's an actor.
He's an actor, and he stole the story for someone. Like, anyway, you know. So what? And Donald Trump, right? So he was pardoned. So going back to what the brother here is saying, this guy was so popular that they had to make a film about a big black ape that's supposed to be him, and the woman he picks up climbing the fucking tower, which is a big white dick, and the planes come, which is the new technology of the time. We got a plane, we're gonna knock him out, and they kill him.
Which again is a white phallic symbol. And when he ends up being killed on that phallic symbol because that's the white power structure. So the big black out of control buck has to be killed, will be killed by the stronger white penis, the stronger white symbol. And you see that time and time again. I remember watching the first Planet of the Apes that came out a few years ago, right? With the CGI, the new one. And there was the chimpanzee name was Caesar. Oddly enough, Caesar was a name a lot of slave owners gave to their enslaved Africans, right? So you have Caesar. And there was a big gorilla who was in the cage by himself, who was really mean. You know what his name was? Buck. And how did Buck die? Police shot him. So you see, even what's Kanye West had said it in that song, Black KK, Black Skinheads. They see a black man in the top floor, like, well, girl, they're gonna come and kill King Kong, right? So when you see, like Jack Johnson, you know, Jack Johnson going with the white woman who, oddly enough, was pardoned by Trump last year. You know, he was, you know, seen as that big black scary figure. Matter of fact, King Kong was based off of him, right? So when you have this strong, dark-skinned, aggressive, sexually virile black person, black man, he's a threat to the white power structure. This is why you have the gun and they call it the equalizer, right? Like, there's a movie came out called The Equalizer, right? Based off an old TV show. And The Equalizer was very interesting to me because the old TV show was starring a man named Edward Woodward, old white man who had a real big black gun, right? He'd help people out whenever they were in need. So now the movie came out of that, maybe like 5-6 years ago with Denzel Washington. Now I'm thinking, a black equalizer? I want to see how this turns out. In the poster, you see him with a gun, you know, in the rain. But that's not how it really went down. The movie was basically about an older black man rather, who took guns from white people, right? He didn't carry a gun because he's the equalizer. You carry the gun to be equal to him. That's why he took it from you. All throughout the film, he takes guns from white people. At the very end, that poster I saw was him with a nail gun. Because again, he didn't need a real gun, he already had it. And then the second equalizer that came out, he had a gun that he pulled out when he went to the projects to rescue his black neighbor from other black men who were younger than him. So when he went to the project, he made sure he had a gun. Because they were the ones who were the real threat to him. But the white people, it wasn't required. So again, you know, Denzel played that role, and he was the buck figure, right? And going back as well with Denzel, remember his most famous line in movies ever? King Kong ain't got shit on me, right?
Yeah.
What happened at that movie? In that movie, he was the top cop who in one day was taken out by a white guy on his first day. And at the end of the film, he was killed by white men.
Not only white men though, Russian white men, which kind of ties
Back into
to what you said about Rocky and the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta teach on this, break this down.
Because again, you know, it's these tropes, these symbols are so embedded in us that it's like taking candy from a baby. We don't even see what's going on. You have to be taught to see. You can look at something and not see it, right? That's why they had the Wheels Waldo, right? The Wheels Waldo is a perfect example of this, right? You can look at the picture and he's there, but you can't see him.
Now, I'm not going to cut that there because the takeaway was about Jack Johnson and the media. And once again, thank you for tuning into well, you're probably going to turn into it, but tuning into the date today, once again, is the 24th of July. We're ending up coming into August, and we have our guest here, Madam X, Steve, and BANNMF. We're going to have a little parlez-vous just once we just get a few of these basic instructions before leaving Earth into you. So this is just a show, not even just the hate. My whole argument is, why fight so hard trying to get along with your enemy when your enemy just clearly don't like you, right? That's why I say, you know, in the long term, we're going to have to start boycotting, you know, everything that we see hasn't helped us. Case in point, in film. So we spoke about Jack Johnson and sports. Let's see what Denzel Washington had to say about this.
Smash that notification bell, and if you're not subscribed to Viral Hip Hop News, ladies and gentlemen, what are you waiting for? Subscribe right now to The Brand. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. and let's get to work. Okay, I hope everybody is home safely, getting ready to enjoy their days off, their holiday break, whatever you will celebrate, whether that be not having to work or about to spend time with your family. Hope you guys are enjoying it and doing it in a peaceful way. And if you happen to be watching this tonight or tomorrow, happy holidays to you and yours. Now, this brother, when we talk about Hollywood and we talk about in particular black Hollywood, there's a lot we could say about our leading male actors. There's criticism that we can throw pretty much all of their way if we want to find something to pick with and prod with. Of course, there's something that we does not play certain roles, does not go certain routes, and does not play with his mother effing name, which is why we love him so much. So he was on I believe it was an interview, I want to say a panel, but he was with Viola Davis, and they were speaking about, I guess, their time in Hollywood and things like that, and he was sharing an experience that he had in the early 80s when he just started getting into the game, and how Hollywood executives, in particular Jewish Hollywood executives, wanted him to play particular roles, and this brother was not for it at all. I'm going to play the clip of what Mr. Washington had to say. It's an exceptional story. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go.
Stage, the amount of training we had, you know, the city party, I was very fortunate. In fact, he came to no, I talked to him before that, but I think it was when we came to Soldier's Play. And he said, "You're good."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and wow. I got a part in a movie in 1986. I called it The Nigga They Couldn't Kill.
Oh.
Yeah, he was supposed to be, he raped a white woman, and they tried to electrocute him, but it didn't work. And he became sort of a cult hero. No, not that one. That was the other awful one. But and then they tried to.
I'm just gonna repeat that once again, because myself being in film, hey, it's not everybody, but who owns the business, right? So he is explaining to you. Everybody knows Denzel. Well, they love Denzel. You notice he's not even working as much anymore. I think it's part and partial because this video came out. But what he's saying is an example of what the system is in Hollywood. So you look at someone like Denzel. You know, he was really nominated for that Oscar when he only played the worst anti-hero, bad cop. That's what and he was killed apparently I didn't see the film, but he was wasted in Training Day. He got an Oscar, but he did Malcolm X, he did all that. They didn't care about that. So here he's telling you one of the ideas they had for a film where they couldn't kill the nigger. These producers that he's talking about, they said it as a joke. Listen to how the joke ends.
They tried to electrocute him, but it didn't work. No, I talked to him before that, but I think it was when we came to Soldier's Play. And he said, "You're good."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
wow.
I got a part in a movie in 1986. I called it The Nigga They Couldn't Kill.
Oh.
Yeah, he was supposed to be, he raped a white woman and
I love how the audience is laughing. Even this woman there, you're so fucking nigga, we couldn't kill. I know it. We come such a far way.
He was supposed to be, he raped to Soldier's Play. And he said, "You're good."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
wow.
I got a part in a movie in 1986. I called it The Nigga They Couldn't Kill.
Oh.
Yeah, he was supposed to be, he raped a white woman, and they tried to electrocute him, but it didn't work. And he became sort of a cult hero. No, not that one. That was the other awful one. But and then they tried to hang him, and they tried to do all this stuff. And I had a lot of training day in me. And there were some Jewish people in the audition, and I said, "Yeah." They said, "No, it's funny. It's like they hang them and then they can't." I said, "Yeah, like you bring some Jewish people into a room and they think it's a shower, but it's gas." Oh. And they said, "Right." I said, "Right. That ain't funny." So to me, it wasn't funny about putting a rope around my MFN neck either. I made a point. The guy was like, "Who the hell is this little nigga talking like this?" So anyway, make a long story long, I called Sidney, and I was sick because he told me to call him. I said, "Man, they offered me $600,000 to play the nigga they couldn't kill." And he said, "I'm not going to tell you what to do." He said, "I'm not going to tell you that, Denzel." He says, "But I can tell you this. The first 2 or 3 or 4 films you do in this business will dictate how you're perceived in this business. So you make a decision. You know, he didn't tell me what to do, and I'll give him credit for that. And I turned it down, and 6 months later, I got Cry Freedom and got an Oscar nomination. So it could have gone an entirely, you know, you never know. It could have gone, my whole career could have gone an entirely different way, well, in a different way.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ms. Davis?
And all the Jewish people now be just making a point. But I was dead serious about that because they were laughing. Like, oh no, it's funny. They electrocute him, and then I could just see the poster with me with a rope around my neck. You know, I just had dreams about it. Like,
I have a question.
that wacky guy they tried to kill on the stage.
And that, my friends, is why Denzel Washington, in my opinion, is one of the greatest of all time. Because he can laugh, he can joke, he can never lose his level of energy, never lose the kill. He's sitting there straight, level-headed as can be, but letting you motherfuckers know, don't play with my name, bruh. No, I'm not playing that role. Would you like to?
Now, here's my thing. At the end of the day, he's still a nigger, right? That's just basically it. Even though our own people say, well, I respect him. Hey, kudos. But you can even see on that, he's a different person to the person we just saw after that, right? All young and innocent. Yeah, I love him. But look, only until the producers told him, and I've worked with people who had that same type of verbiage. Let's kill him. Yeah, and it's funny. And then the minute you come around, oh, that's anti-Semitic. The Holocaust. The Holocaust. And it's like, come on, bro. You just said literally, are you producing all the rap music that calls me a nigger every day? No, but that's not the same thing. It's anti-Semitic if you do it. Well, you know what? Guess what? I'm Semitic, apparently to the Israelites. Caught you in a lie. But all of this to say, we live in a very good world, and we do love everybody, but you know what? Have discernment. The Passing of the Great Race, or Racial Bias of European History by Madison Grant, right? Because it's always somebody, but the best books I've been reading is from white people. I gotta give you guys 100% on that because you write some of the most delicious books on my history that I wasn't supposed to read. And luckily, before you killed Martin Luther King and all that, I learned how to read. Isn't that great? I know some of you are like, what the fuck did we do? But this is one book here. The Passing of the Great Race. The Racial Bias of European History. I believe, oh wait, is it? Yeah, it's this one here. Let's see what this gives us. Boom, there you go. So this is 1916 edition, and this is a book, rightfully what it is, Madison Grant, right? This is about what they see as the Great Race. So this whole thing with white people and all that, another book like the Scythians, right? We all come from Adam and all this, but what we're understanding more so now, along with the Israelites, yeah, there were the people up in the caves, the Flintstones, as we would call them. Everything that we even know today as Ukraine. So this is all about the Nordic, Scandinavian, Teutonic plates. See, this is where we can say even the Israelites, some of them, or the Negroes, ended up here at the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea, as you can see over here. And all of this area here, you're falling easily into what is Ukraine. This is what it's all about. So this shit's been around since when? What year did I say? 1916? 1919? Look at this. That's why I'm like, you dumb niggas out there don't even know what's going on today. Oh, Ukraine, we're fighting for Ukraine. Yeah? You're a jackass because you know what? You're probably dead now. So look, you see, and of course, as time goes on, the pre-Teutonic Nordics, this is 1800 to 100 BC, a generalized scheme by Madison Grant. So those people knew what they were up to. The Slavic Alpines, the generalized scheme. This is what they want, right? The Vandals, the Goths. I'm not going to get into all of it, but I'm sure some of you know about, once again, this is what we call the origins of the whites, so the Italians, the Germans, right? The Franks, Normans. The Normans is Norman is English? Normandy, Saxons.
William the Conqueror came up from Normandy and conquered England.
William the Conqueror. See?
Came from Normandy.
The Nor-
Which is a Norman.
the Vandals, the Goths, right? The Lombards, right? These are the folks that into the Age of Enlightenment, well over 5 centuries later, this is where it all comes from. The Vandals, all here, right? Okay? So this is giving you, and if you don't know some of this, or if you haven't been taught this in school, right? Because most of our history just gets us from whatever, the 16th century. But this is what the Great White Hope is about. So you see today, it's Ukraine, Kiev, Hungary, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, the Caucasian Mountain, hello, Black Sea, and the Slavs. Here's the thing about the Black Sea and this. I get it. The Slavs are like, we were slaves too. Is it possible they were black, swarthy? Because that was the word that was used forever up until the Age of Enlightenment. They used to say we were swarthy, Schwarzer, dark, blah, blah, blah. So,
And where did the country Yugoslav?
Yugoslav, yeah. Yugoslav.
No, Yugoslav.
Igoslav, Yugoslav.
No,
like Belarusia, right? So the Franks are now France, Austria. So look at this. This is in the book, right? Grand's vision of the status quo with the Nordics in red, the Alpines in green, and the Mediterraneans in yellow. I don't see no bro there. Whoops. What happened here? Whoa, where did that come from? I guess they had that shit going on for a long time, eh? 1919. So this is something to take a look at. The passing of the great white race. Or another, actually, while I'm here, and we'll get into talking. Once again, thank you for joining into the date. The Great White Hope. Let's see if we can find that, because I know this was another book. I'll probably critique that another time. Let's see. Am I even on the tab? Let me see. Thank you for tuning in. Also, you know what? If you got pocket change, I'm a poor, wicked black man. Hey, you can always send me a little pocket change at, yeah, just pay me, all right? Yeah. You can find me on some of the other sites, such as Getter, and I'm also on Rumble, because it doesn't always have to be Facebook, Twitter, even though Facebook and Twitter bring me back, right? You want to catch me here. Also, you want to catch me on BitChute and Rumble, because Rumble is a different alternative also to what we actually can say, right? I just want to give, so that's, and of course, here I'm on Twitter, and Elon Musk is, always up to his good things. Any news today? No, nothing really. Oh, yeah, this devil. Oh, Uncle Schwab just publicly admitted he's planning to implement China-style forced COVID lockdowns all over the world during the next pandemic. Of course, it's going to happen, and all you dumb niggers are going to let it happen too, right? Because he's telling you he's going to do it. So here's Rumble. Once again, don't be afraid to tune in. I also got my feed here. Oh, BitChute's not. Was BitChute up or down today? Let's try it again. I'm also on BitChute and, of course, Getter. So, going back to the Great White Hope, 1967 play written by Howard Sackler, later adapted in the 1970 for a film of the same name. So it's one of those films. Once again, I call it maybe even the precursor to what Rocky became, right? While the play is often described as being thematically about racism, this is not how Sackler viewed his work. Probably not, though not denying the racist issues confronted in the play. Sackler once said in an interview, "What interested me was not the topicality." I love these fucking stupid, like, white-ass words. Not the topicality. Who says that? But the combination of circumstances, the destiny of a man pitted against society. A nigger at the end of the day. It's a metaphor of a nigger at the end of the day. Struggle between a man and the outside world. A nigger at the end of the day. Some people spoke the play as if it was cliche of white liberalism. A nigger at the end of the day. But I kept the line straight through. So it wasn't a case of blacks being good and whites being bad. I was appalled at the first react. Anyways, forget about this nonsense. But it's always about that. So let's see this guy. I like to look up who their mothers were. Howard Oliver Sackler, born December 19th, 1929, October 12th, 1982, was an American screenwriter and playwright who was best known for, I'm doing my Brooklynese,
New Jersey?
no, I'm not my New Jerseyan, for having written The Great White Hope, right? Enjoyed both, yeah. So he was born in Brooklyn, the son of real estate agent Martin and Ida Morshman Sackler. So the reason why I put that there is because, you see, people have been writing our history so much that it's almost to the point where it's absurd and it doesn't even make sense anymore, right? So this is why I've been writing, and I'll be glad to share with you as we're slowly wrapping up. But thank you for tuning in. I welcome you to also take a look at Zulus, The Crown of Thorns. And this book is loosely, of course, based on a semi-autobiographical life of myself growing up in Montreal into the 70s, 80s, and before the bikers came and recruited all those wicked Negroes into the gang, and now we run the drug trade and everything. So definitely check it out. It's I like to call it a superhero film with a twist, a West Indian superhero film with a twist. The logline: downtrodden Zulu crime fighters come out of retirement to save their hip hop offspring in an ultimate battle against a demon here. Mountain Town, Quebec, an active crime fighting metal league and former rock band, the Zulus, must save their teenage offspring breakdance crew, the Fresh Zulus, from the Genesis nemesis, genderless, ageless, warmonger, and recently retired hunters. Apocalyptic zombie destruction of hip hop on June 24th, 1983. So, this is really fourth wall breaking shit. And you know what? Don't be lazy. Just go up there and read it. Give it a thumbs up, a rating. Where am I? Actually, let me see. I know they show you the how we call it there. You get to see the tabs on how the book is doing. But oh well, I can't find it right now. But I just thought I'd share you that. That was our quick commercial break. Please buy the book, and once again, check out all the others. So we see, going back here with Denzel, I was talking about Martin Luther King. This episode here was just basically to give you the insight that the work is out there, the books are out there if you care anything about it. Look at this wicked nigger here. He looked black. I don't care what anybody said. This is Maya Amshel Mofi de Rothschild, right? Come on. He looked like a basketball player. He can easily pass for a Hebrew Israelite. But they never tell you that, right? Who is Esau? Who is Edom? This is also a very good book to read. Just basically tells you who is Esau and who is Edom, and what their deal is all about here. Look at all the absurd contents they have. This is why I write what I write, folks, because you know what? These people are wicked in the sense that they're always trying to show something. Look at that. The legacy of Edom, life and history of Esau, the origin of the Jews. All the world's a stage. Woo! Where did we get that? From this book. Characteristics: Esau hated by God, no Edomite civilization, bad fids, and so this is like, oh, Edom's revenge, Esau's war against Jacob. These are Jewish white Ashkenaz people that wrote this up for you. Actually, it's for them, not for me, not for you, but right. So this is one of the better books that you want to see. So I want to take a little time here to just chat it up here with our guest. Of course, we are the show of the mundane, because it's also the show that, yes, a black guy can be mundane. Didn't talk about hip hop, didn't talk about no pussy, right? Aren't you guys freaked out? This is your bro. So, our guest here, Steve, Banff and Lady X. What are your thoughts today as to what's going on in the world when it comes to the identity of our youth and the plight of being, as we say today now, Israelite in a world that just doesn't give a shit about us? Any thoughts? Do we give up? Do we continue? What do we do? What do we take it from here? Madam X. No? Any thoughts? Well, Banff,
Okay, regarding our youth, I think in general, we just have to have a lot more empathy for them because things were very different in my days. There may have been poverty in my days, but now there's kind of like a mental badgering of the youth, and many of them they're just not equipped to handle all of this. So I think we should have a global, overall kind of consciousness towards our youth. I mean, we can spend a lot of time talking about it, but I'm just keeping things general.
Well, what do you propose? Because our youth is no longer our youth. Get over that. It's not. I mean, and then you mentioned uh, in our time, a different time. I'm part of that different time. And the reason why I do these posts is, once again, I'm a Gen Xer. There's not many of us who can represent and tell us uh, how to behave or how to make sense of this world. So where's that loving and care? Maybe it hasn't worked for 50 years. So I would think there's probably something a little bit more different than that. Any thoughts?
One of the issues is where does the power lie? I mean, with our youth, the power no longer even lies in the hands of the parents. Many parents, they've lost the power to the system. And you make one wrong move and your youth calls 911. Game over. So there are many parents there walking on eggshells. That's the choice. Do I do what I think is the right thing in order to keep my youth on the right path to become a productive citizen of the planet? Or do I continue walking on eggshell in fear that, the social worker will say, oh, my son came to the office and said you yelled at him, so we are taking him to a home. And that happens especially in the black community all the time. Kids get into a home, they put on Ritalin and all those other things, and it's a downward spiral. But I am optimistic, hopeful, and I think many of the black youth should be taken back to the motherland in order to regain their power that was taken from their ancestors. And that is the beginning of their healing. That is the beginning of it. You'll hear many of the great, performers who say, "Oh my God, when I went to the motherland, I had such a transformation, to recognize about life."
Mm.
And that we should have the resources in the community so that the seniors can take the kids back so they can regain their true identity, they can regain their confidence in a positive light now, not having confidence being a bully because they've been bullied, and they can come back and recognize what is the benefit of education, what is the benefit of family, what is the benefit of community, and to recognize they're a youth for a very short time in their evolution. The teenage years go very quickly, and to recognize you have to prepare for the rest of your life when you're full of that power and that youthful, all those wonderful words, strength.
Idealism.
Yes, what's the word?
Idealism.
Idealism, and prepare for the future. So we do need seniors to come forward and put their life, I would say, on the line to help the youth, because the youth are the ones who we want to become the doctors and the nurses. So when you're in a senior citizen home, this is Charlie that I helped to nurture, and now he's coming to make sure the person is well taken care of. So we have to do the work. The people who dominated us are not going to do the work. They're going to continue dominating, continue oppressing. And you have to be willing to stand up and fight for your youth. Because youth, their brains are not developed. Of course, they think they know it all, but they're in kind of a mad period of their life because the brain is growing so quickly and they can't handle it. And seniors have to come out. You know, you see some kid on the corner doing something, don't just walk by. Why are you smoking this? Why are you sniffing this? What, you know, snap them out of it. And this is my thing. I love my people, and I have done a lot, and I'm really sad at the state of the majority of our youth in jail, mental institution, in homes, you know, disrespecting their parents, thinking about committing suicide because their parent won't buy them a Nike or whatever, you know. So that's a sad state. But I'm very hopeful, very positive that many will come through. Many will be elevated and awakened to their role, their true role on the planet for goodness, for life, for
Right.
love,
Right.
and to be part of a community, to be part of, you know, helping the community, productive members of the community. So we have to encourage them to think that we're not, oh, mom, I need a Nike shoe. Oh, mom, you know, my friend has a new iPod. I need a new iPad or whatever. No, change it. Oh, I need to go to McDonald's and eat food to get my whatever raved up. No, we have to teach them respect, discipline, and we have to find a way to do that in a gentle way. You can't do it in a forceful way like back home when they used to beat kids. You can't do that now because the police will take that kid away from you an instant. But we have to think that we can do it. Yes, we can take out the youth. Yes, they are the future of the planet. And we have the wisdom in order to give to the youth because they have the power and the strength, and to let them know that they're worthy, you know, give them confidence, positive attention, not negative behavior to get attention, positive attention. And then there are many, many ways it can be done, and I just want to encourage the seniors on the planet to continue helping the youth. And I'm one of those who are helping them.
What do you think about what's going on with the media? So my take, like when I'm doing this post, I intentionally do it. I do it like a white journalist. I speak like a white journalist. Why? Because my issue now, in my 50s, is hip hop has, if there's a word, I guess, for dumbing down, if there's a word that can describe brainwashing and dumbing down. This happened in my generation, right? When the hip hop and the gangster rap and all of that. My contention is that shit should be boycotted. Now, a lot of young kids would say, "Oh, you're an old head. You're not hip." Fuck, I was, you know, they weren't existing when I was even their age to know when this shit started. So my contempt is we've got to convince our youth there's more to life than the narrative that had been set with the creation of hip hop. Because my generation, we're there, we saw how being smart after Martin Luther King, learning how to read, talking fucking proper English without slang, there was a code to that. You do that at home, all of that. We saw that, and we played along with the negative anti-hero. And that's why you had people like Tupac being created. They wanted to create an anti-hero. And I was like, that nigger was way younger than me. He should be 50 now. I'm not God spare life going on 55. So I was older than him then. How the fuck is it you're going to tell me that you're going to take that image like Jim Morrison and make him forever the poster child of every single black man for the last fucking 30 years? No wonder we're in the condition where we are. Because our hero has been dead for 30 years. Most of them have been dead for a while. They've all been killing each other, and we've never seen anything more positive. Don't forget, we had Mr. T. You had Muhammad Ali. You had Diana Ross. We had something, and that shit. What Fresh Zulus. I explain how it happened because it happened in a period in the '80s between Ronald Reagan and what's his name, George Bush, Bill Clinton, other Bush. It happened in between that. Didn't you notice something was off, even though we couldn't vocalize it when we heard niggers with attitude? And now 40 years later, it's fact in life. A 40-year-old child was born into that, and now 40 years old. And yo, man, she's my bitch. Yeah, man, I got my pet. What? And you've got grandkids? I say boycott it.
This is a digression a bit. On a positive note,
Mm.
I was watching 60 Minutes last night,
Mhm.
and there was a woman, so that would have been the 23rd of July, and her role is she's gathering all the great black people who have invented and she's put together a museum. So if you look at 60 Minutes, 23rd of July, you will get her. I just had a quick,
Mhm.
and that's very positive what she's doing because she said all her life the only person she knew is the usual Malcolm X.
Yeah, yeah.
And she has found just a great quantity
Right.
of black people who have contributed not only to North America, to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you check 60 Minutes last night, 23rd of July.
I'll take a look at it, and for sure, once again, the point being that we have to break out of this hypnotic rush. So, Steve, and thanks, Madam X. Steve, give us your point of view on what we're talking about.
Well, what I think was going on in the world these days is just sort of the outcome of the evolution. Our society's gotten ever more complex. Our science and technology and the business and in the old days, many years ago, there was such a thing as a Renaissance man, somebody who possibly could understand everything that the society around him or her could understand. Today, everything is so divvied up into so many different disciplines. To understand, for the average person to understand what's going on in the world, uh, you know, it's sort of like we end up having to rely on mass media to tell us so many of the things that we're not specialized in. And so it's very easy for the powers that be to if they can steer the mass media into promoting certain points of view, then we're stuck. We either have to spend so much of our time studying stuff on our own, or we're just led by the nose by mass media. And so we don't know what that. We had pandemic. There was so many things going on with that. There was 9/11. 20 years earlier, we had 9/11, and we were told to believe certain things about that as well. Which there's a lot of disputes with that. Unless you're an engineer, you don't know what to think. So this time, if you're not a doctor or medical researcher, you're not sure what to think, and so you go along with the program, or you spend umpteen hours of your time trying to understand it. This is what's causing fragmentation of our society. We have we have all these organizations and we have governmental bodies that are sort of buying in and promoting a certain narrative. We're supposed to accept certain solutions to our problems, whether it has to do with climate or it has to do with pandemics or whatever it is, and that's what it is. So you've got a situation where people who on loan or experts in the field who actually have got the courage to speak up about maybe they don't necessarily agree with what's being presented as a consensus, and mass media is basically whipped people into frenzy. Oh, those people are this or that. They're denying all this, denying that. And we got a problem because even somebody like John F. Kennedy Jr. I mean, I look at what he's saying. I think in terms of like how the system is trying to basically put forth certain narratives about what's right or wrong and how the corruption happens in the government and in the large corporations. I think he's right there. In terms of the actual details of biology and medicine, I still got questions because I'm not an expert in that myself.
Right.
And I look at things and I say, well, I don't know. Maybe the stand narrative is right on this particular point. I don't know. But, I'd have to spend 3 weeks trying to figure it out. And this is such a burden. And the average person doesn't have time with the inclination to do it. And so this is how the another wave of colonialism is happening. Because you see the Western powers, yes, Western European powers, they had one wave of colonialism, say, like hundreds of years ago.
Right.
And then after World War II, you had neo-colonialism. But basically, the United States took over the policeman of the world. And today, we have we have a whole bunch of people trying to tell us if you have a question about your medical care, don't seek out a second opinion anymore. No, we got one narrative, we got one set of guidelines, and your doctor is basically there's so many pressures on doctors these days. Like if you just come out of medical school, you got $250,000 in debt to pay off. If you're late in career, well, it's just those are some of the people who are willing to speak out, but then they get they can have problems with get their licensing suspended. You have medical researchers who their careers are based on being able to get grants for their research, and who is basically giving the grant money out, especially in the United States, is National Institutes of Health. Huge piles of money.
Gain of function.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, gain of function. I think it was 2011. There was some letters in I think it was the Washington Post by I think it was Anthony Fauci saying that we should do gain of function on viruses.
Right.
And so what happened in 2019? Well, now we got to pretend that it was just a natural occurrence. And you look at the spike protein on the coronavirus, and there's something called the furin cleavage site, which is the technical term. And how'd that get there? Well, and apparently now there is this woman, I think her name is Sherry she's in Australia somewhere, journalist, and she's been talking about that quite a bit, even for several years, and saying that there was some problems here. There are some people some people real true journalists who actually are dedicated to learning the truth about things. I remember myself back in the beginning of the pandemic. I started out believing what they were telling us on mass media. And I said, hey, and I kept looking into it. I said, well, how can I help them? How can I find better ways of combating the coronavirus? I'm looking into that. And I was thinking, why don't we use copper wires to open the doors and things like that? When we worried about touching things and stuff like that. And nobody was doing that. And I was thinking, well, I'm just some ordinary person. I know, whatever. And so I kept asking questions, and I kept finding problems with the narrative. I said, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And then, it's a big mess. And it basically shattered. It shattered my I guess you may call it sort of faith. I guess they call it in the sense that the people running the scientific enterprise were actually dedicated to the truth.
Right.
And it turns out it's only it's actually three groups of people. There's the people who all they're interested in their basically their power, their position, their keeping their money flowing, their social influence and stuff like that. You have the people, other people who are just out in the scientific enterprise to understand what's actually going on, trying to understand the world, the creation. And then you have the people in the middle who are just sort of that they end up, being dominated by the people who hold the purse strings. So there, you've got, fortunately, the honest scientists these days are being outnumbered. And so these days, to do honest science, you pretty well have to be, almost like you have to have independent wealth or something like that, or you have to find a sponsor. It's like the Middle Ages all over again. And you got the World Health Organization and National Institutes of Health and Health Canada. It's almost like a church again. It's just like we got one narrative that we got to keep supporting. And an interesting thing was that almost exactly 500 years after the Reformation. Martin Luther basically put the there was a 93 Theses on the door of a church somewhere, and sort of started the Reformation in Central Europe. And and it was the Catholic Church. They wanted to rebuild the St. Peter's Basilica, and okay, granted, it's a very beautiful place, fine. But basically, the Catholic Church at the time changed the way the papal indulgences to pay for the building of the church, and so like, people didn't know any better in those days. They adhere to the Catholic Church because that's what they're told. Like this about spiritual reality. And so, yeah, they had to pay the indulgences and stuff like that. And Martin Luther says, no, this is like an abuse. And so, stir that. So we almost said we need a new kind of reformation in the scientific enterprise. There's a website that has Week for Action Watch, I think it's called. All these scientific papers that are being basically retracted because there's bad science. There are people that it's a corruption in the scientific enterprise, and it's just a shock to me because
Well, you say it's a shock. I mean, we know like they're Nazis and all of that business. It's well over a while that have, like even like what Trump said. There's some good people, right? They gave us television and all of this stuff. How? I mean, the fact that is everything you're explaining, we understand comes from that source. So Martin Luther, as far as I know, because he's talking about when is he the one who started the what religion?
Luther, this is a form of Protestantism.
Yeah,
There were
Protestant.
several
Yes,
of
yes. And even with the little good, they're all guilty by association because of the politics of the time. So when we look at like even what's happening today, it seems that, well, at least it started with a goal long ago, like a few 500 years ago. There's an end game coming, but the same actors, even if they're another generation, they're still in the role of, let's say now doing like mass genocide. If it's a word that's probably going to come up more because we trusted in the system, like the doctors, the scientists, all of those. We trusted so much. We didn't catch it when HIV was around. We let that go because Fauci was around since. But now here you are today, and now we've got this other catastrophe. Probably more to come. We won't hear it from the news. We won't hear it because that's just the way it is. This is done by people with an agenda. The way I see it, it's a racial agenda because even what I've been learning now, they shut down. The Americans will not get money for the gain of function anymore. That just happened yesterday. So what we know about it so far is it's up there in the Ukraine. They were making they're calling it. They're saying it's a biological fucking weapon. All right. Some people are not going to get it. Some people are going to say, well, that's far fetched. It can't be. It's not that it could be that, but it's the same goal and intention, which is to create the master race, as some people would say, right? And it's about, even though they want to do it for good, it's about killing, killing. I wouldn't say killing, but it's about maybe making people disappear and making the world population. Some people are saying, kill the cows because they're farting too much, take down the people because they shit too much, right? It's still the same insidious people who we could know them as maybe even Nazis, right? These are the folks that, at least from what I'm understanding, run the world and they're still doing this shit. So, I'm just adding to what you're saying in the sense that couldn't we just call it what it is? Just, perfect Nazism at its finest? That we're living in the world and we let go.
Actually the Third Reich.
The
Okay, and when I looked for a very long time, I did research and investigation into libraries and asking what were the first two Reichs, and when I realized that the First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire, and the German Reich was the Third Reich, I'm not calling the future group of oppressors Nazis any longer. I'm just saying it will probably be the offspring of the first three Reichs, right? And I think from my assessment of how they were using COVID, the WHO was going to be the Fourth Reich. And after the Second World War, because I've studied psychology, I saw what psychologists did to figure out how people were actually inhibiting themselves in order to obey the person in the white lab jacket, either the medical person or the medical technician. And that brought me back to COVID. I said, that's what they actually thought, whoever had organized it, actually thought they could oppress enough people with the white medical thing from the World Health Organization that we were going to tiptoe around to WHO. And my joke now is, well, now that we've proven that we're smarter than the WHO, and we have evidence of what they were trying to do to us using our bodies, we're going to have to form another international organization to dominate everything, and it'll be the WBO. And the World Banking Organization.
Yeah.
But someone said, oh, I thought it was body odor. So it brings in the double meaning, because if you are actually courageous enough to take a stand and say, no. We see where you are getting your authority. We see where your powers come from. We see, just a minute, folks. We're not going to cater to you. We're not going to let you have access to the people who are independent thinkers, who are intelligent by eons and miles, not just yard. And I keep thinking of the joke that someone said, oh yeah, her intelligence level is lower than room temperature. Describing a person who's trying to dominate things but doesn't have the mental capability to understand enough of what is going on and enough of how to solve it. And so a book came to my attention on Friday, and it had to do with, let me pull it out. The title, it's on a completely different theme, but it comes out of a country on the planet that has actually reclaimed land from the sea. Holland, the Netherlands. And it's a book called Urban Challenges, Resilient Solutions, Design Thinking for the Future of Urban Regions. It's a collaboration of 6 Dutch academies of architecture and city planning, financed by the Ministry of Infrastructure and the Environment, the Environmental Region, written in 2017. Okay, so it's a group of people who have actually said, hey, we can focus our attention on the problem, or we can start finding solutions and saying, wow, we've never thought of that. We've never thought of having a farm on the 6th floor and the forest on the top floor. We haven't thought of, right? And actually doing so many things in desalination of water, and the book blew me away because they have ideas that actually keeps us from just nervously pumping out tarmac, parking lots, and more empty apartment buildings, huh? Mm-hmm. And saying, well, we have to fill them up with refugees, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Huh? And so but they're very careful, very strategically getting together and solving things piece by piece by piece by piece. And when someone said to me, he saw a huge number of little motorbikes of all different colors just a few minutes ago, I said, "Oh, they're probably the motorbikes from the racetrack from a week ago." Apparently, a group of them circled around and around the tracks for 7 or 8 hours in one day. They just kept on going. And I said, maybe that's what Mao fought for, right? So that everybody could have a motorbike.
Let's see here, actually.
Well, the hospitality has been superlative.
Well,
you keep doing that to us, Richard, and we're going to. Oh, you're putting me into this
into the
chair.
massage chair. Well, and I'm sure our viewers probably hear in the background the little microwave going up. We're actually having coffee, eating snacks, having cheese, right? Because this is the mundane side of just another black guy. What?
No, he's not just another black guy. He's another beautiful human being.
There you go.
Who has kept all aspects of himself intact, even if he had to resort to using this chair that rubs you in places that.
See that I just put it on for you because once again, as my audience knows, I have what we call a massage chair here, and the massage chair, she's enjoying it.
Now it's moving up my spinal column.
Good.
Yes, there it is.
Good.
And I don't know if it's moving the Kundalini energy up into my brain so that my brain starts focusing on something else.
Well, I mean, this is why when my guests come over,
it's disappeared.
Oh, it's gonna move up again.
It's gone. It's gone. Oh, now it's moving the Kundalini back down from my head and shoulders back down. I guess it's a circulation thing.
Well,
we have to get these spinal columns.
Well, I generally like let my guests who are not, of course we're not on camera. I do that deliberately because there's too many black faces on YouTube. And you don't need to see my face.
Oops. Now it's moving down into my buttocks. They're almost non-existent. It's like an ocean wave that is just gently moves up and down.
Yep. Arthur loved this. We had Arthur, the photographer here, a very conservative elderly white man himself also, and he loved it. He had his own little
back up my spine.
Yeah.
At my shoulder blades.
It does the right job.
No, it's.
See, this is sort of like the truth serum of it. It gets it's a truth serum, Jack.
I'm going to enter this into my forgettoirs. That's a word coined by a fellow poet, a poetess. She's writing her, instead of memoirs, she's writing her forgettoirs. And this chair is actually an anecdote to where I sleep at night. Part of the forgettoir. Oh, now it's moving.
You're enjoying the chair. Once again, folks, this is the date, and I have my guests there, and they're on the massage chair. We're having coffee, and we're just chewing the fat here, and we've had you brought up some really intense, great points as to. You see, we're not seeing enough on this. The world situation, even on our media has been hijacked. As some of you on the audience have been looking, because once again, you don't need to see our faces. You can already know what's going on. I just pay attention. I was also keeping this screen on here because with that same book, The Passing of the Great Race, I was scrolling as we were discussing. Hopefully that most of you who had seen me scrolling up and down, you had a chance to read it, because I'm not going to go into reading all this shit. But as we saw the maps before, this book here is a lot more detailed than the maps we're looking at. So I just pulled this up to actually complement that. So the passing of the Great Race, or the racial bias or racial basis of European history, is a 1916 racist and pseudoscientific. So
Right.
going back to Steve,
Right.
right? These
Pseudo.
guys, pseudoscientific by American lawyer, self-styled anthropologist, and proponent of eugenics, Madison
Oh.
Grant. This guy, look at him, that wicked devil. He's probably black too. But Madison Grant was an American lawyer, zoologist, blah, 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 blah. Less noted for his far reaching achievements. We don't need to go into more of it. He expounds a theory of Nordic superiority, claiming that the Nordic race is inherently superior to other human races. The theory and the book were praised by good old Adolf and other Nazis, so much that it was the first foreign book published by the Nazis. After these, so Nazis published books too.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, Goethe, out of Germany, he was a philosopher poet in the late 1800s. Okay. I picked the book up because it talked about color theory, and I'm an artist. I love looking at color and how people think about it.
And it wasn't the color theory you thought.
It was color theory according to
Race.
the Viking race
Yeah.
versus the other. I immediately wiped my fingerprints off and put it back on the shelf. I said, I don't want to be caught reading this. And then I said, you know what? Maybe I should know.
Yeah.
Maybe because that was the point in our history of civilization of Western Europe when we threw away the standards, the academies that maintain standards,
There you
and
go.
said, let's go into modernity.
There.
Let's throw all of these restrictions on our expression of verbally, mentally, emotionally, physically. We want no more of these restraints on the superior race.
And
Well,
we'll
guess
call it a
what?
science.
If you stand against them and say, just a minute, folks, no, I agree with you up until this point, but not beyond. When you mention eugenics, I'm out. Count me out. No, I'm not willing to play God with culture,
Yeah.
race, religion, and children. Children are our sacred beings.
Mm-hmm. They're the portal to bringing in the world.
Well, I actually think that over history, children have been known as the microphone to God.
Right.
And if you get rid of the body, you can use the microphone because God won't see the sin that you've been committing. How do you like that? And they put all of these angel children, these cherubs, on the ceiling of some, I won't name the sanctuaries and the organizations that put them in. And I say, where did they get the idea? Why do these cherubs hang around on the ceiling? Oh, they're halfway between humans and gods, us mortals who are doing all of the nasty things on the planet, and those divines that keep their angel wings and their halos clean.
So let's take a look at this. So this guy, Madison Grant, I'm gonna cherry pick. So I'm gonna go back and forth. It doesn't, because you know what? It's bullshit, but it's serious enough. But I'm gonna cherry pick. So eugenics in the United States. Okay, so Nordicism, Nordicism, an ideology which views the historical race concept of the Nordic race. Yeah. Okay, so the book here, once again, the passing of the Great Race. The book elaborates Grant's interpretation of contemporary anthropology and history. So if we look at Darwin telling us that we're all monkeys, all right, that bullshit, which he sees as revolving chiefly around race rather than environment. He specifically promotes the idea of the Nordic race as a key social group responsible for human development. The caveman, the Flintstones, thus the subtitle of the book is The Racial Basis of European History. Grant also supports eugenics, advocating the sterilization of undesirables. We're always the undesirables. Treatment possibly to be extended to types which may be called weaklings, and perhaps ultimately to worthless race types. So I picked on that, right? In other words, social failures would solve the whole question in 100 years, as well as enable us to get rid of the undesirables who crowd our jails, hospitals, and then say, you know what? Toronto, I hate to say, which is where this show is being broadcast, it's like that right now.
And can I interject
Yes.
something positive about the Nazis?
Mm.
I believe this whole thrust to answer the question, is it nature or is it nurture?
Nature, nurture, yeah.
Is it in our DNA or is it in our environment that we become productive, contributing whatevers? Huh? It was actually a move to counteract this horror story that Nordicism was bringing out. So one for the Nazis.
There you go.
What that they actually systematically organized themselves to assess whether it's the child's nature that he's born with from his parents
Mhm.
that reflect what the parents want, or is it the environment that is set up around them and the people he meets and the books and the musical instruments or non-existence, the computers, the whatever? Which is it? And they have, I believe that they've tried to continue the experiment beyond usefulness,
Mhm.
because we now really, I believe, have shown that the question related to a different time, a different era, a different structure of society,
Mhm.
and a different organization of all of the systems. Today, the way the system is organized, it's more of training and opportunity, and bingo.
Well, Steve just mentioned, like when you're talking about Martin Luther, right, and that whole thing. So I just saw this thing here. The first section deals with the basis of race. This is the book, as well as Grant's own stances on political issues of the day. Eugenics, of course, which is still happening. These center around the growing numbers of immigrants from non-Nordic Europe. Grant claims that the members of contemporary American Protestant society who could trace their ancestry back to colonial times were being outbred, right? Butt breaking. Maybe they were lacking the bros, the mandingos, outbred by immigrant and inferior lower class white racial stocks. So even white people can't even get a break, right? That's how fucked up that Nazi shit is. They'll
But
look
they
at
call
another
it-
white person and be like, "Yo, you're not enough white for me."
Oh, the Appalachians.
They're
And yet, when you look at the whole population of what they would be referring to as the inferior stock, and give them opportunity and cultivate them and give them the type of environment and training that is required, guess what you get?
a full-fledged
A full-fledged contributing expert or specialist or whatever, huh? In whatever field
doctor,
that they have been cultivated.
doctor, master, science.
I often go in and look at the First Nations people who have succeeded to jump all of the hoops in various areas like architecture, art, theater, science.
Right?
And I'm astounded.
They own it all.
One of these fellows, and you know, we get told, oh, they came in and they beat us up and they incarcerated our parents if they didn't let their children come to school and blah blah blah. And one guy is actually achieved the highest level in conservatory music on the piano in London. He's a playwright. He's an international star. He can write theater. And his father actually sent him to school, saying, I don't know what they're going to teach you down there, son, but I know that you're going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, in good hands.
You're going
In
to
good
be
Nazi hands.
well, but
Lebensborn, that's the word you were looking for. Lebensborn.
Lebensborn.
Right? Lebensborn. Lebensborn. That's the boy, the kids, right? Nazi kids, Jojo Rabbit, Lebensborn. When the kids were the
Well,
Nazi.
Leben is love and Sporn is like spawning or
Spawn.
Spawn, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the kids. His analysis of population studies, economic labor supply shows that the consequence of this subversion was evident in decreasing quality of life, lower birth rates, and corruption of the contemporary American society. He reasons that the Nordic races would become extinct, and the United States, as it was known, because it wasn't that known like that before, would cease to exist, being replaced by a fragmented country or corrupted caricature of itself. The second part of the book reviews European prehistory as it was known at the time of writing the book, and then postulates the existence of three European races, which Grant defines as Nordic, Alpine, and Mediterranean, the cavemen, as well as their physical and mental characteristics. He then speculates hereditary links between proposed Nordic people and the Trojans, right?
Aha.
And between the Prussians and the Spartans. Don't forget now, there's swarthy people in all of this, eh?
Trojans and Spartans.
Yep. This part of the book ties together strands of the speculation regarding Aryan migration theory. You see, it's always a theory.
Mhm.
Well, they could just go to the Bible, but no, we don't do that. So, you see, this is the paranoid situation that we're living in today, right? The individual himself can be nourished, educated. They're trying to do that. And this book is like, you know, it's all about that. So you're saying,
But the individual is like the salmon swimming upstreams. There is so much resistance, so many things and people and events and surrounding situations with strings attached. It's all on an agenda. It's all on their agenda. If you, as an independent, go swimming in upstream into their bear's mouth or their fish net or their whatever, right? And so, personally, I feel that I've been extremely lucky. I have actually foreseen things in my life that I could prepare for and actually encounter with my full consciousness, and find allies to be with me there. And but I still, when I consult with several people, or a handful, or 10 or 20, they're still saying, there are strings attached, my dear. There are strings attached. And you know what? I know what happens if I jump into the same swimming pool that I grew up in and left when I was 18. I know what happens to my consciousness. I know what happens when I'm put into this bath and swimming pool and sauna of disrespect.
right.
Huh? And where I'm invalidated utterly and totally because of my package as a woman. Okay?
Right.
So it's almost when you talk about having a package that they are they're anti themselves. They hate themselves in the final analysis. And fortunately, psychology has come up with something called narcissism. Huh?
They came on, yeah.
Under narcissism, the person denies responsibility for the involvements and activities that they've done or left undone, and projects it out and says, no, I didn't do it, I wasn't there, right? And you have to have an I don't know what word I want, a large number of witnesses
Yeah.
to say, I went to find her, and I know that she was there, and I know that there were witnesses who came and confirmed that I saw that she was not at the place where this other thing was happening. So in order to not be implicated in these ongoing situations that narcissists create,
God, it
in
cares.
order
Yeah.
and find fall guys, people to blame,
Right.
in order to stay on their white horse. That's what one of my professors used to say. Oh, the thing about Reagan was he was a movie star, and he
Yeah.
couldn't tell the difference between reality and movies. But all he wanted was a white horse and a white cowboy hat.
Yep. And a psychic.
And
And a psychic.
was
Because
he was consulting.
Yeah, it's known the psychics were consulting with Ronald Reagan, Ronald and Nancy. But there's a lot of that coven thing going on. Tony Blair's another one. He's like a warlock, and he thought he was right with the weapons of mass destruction because he was using. You see, like there you go, right? This book here, as we see, the war against the weak, eugenics and America's campaign to create a master race. So this book here, I highly recommend. Also written by Edwin Black. As I was scrolling, as you were talking, for our audience to take up upon, they could freeze the screen and go back from Peapod to persecution. Look at these people. Look at that.
Is this the weak or the master race?
This is the weak war against the weak.
But who are sitting at the table?
They're supposed to be the master race.
They are all yeah.
They're the master race, right?
The thing is, if you talk to the master race and you find out how they have been trained and what they've been
They're screwing themselves.
told to do, they have these parameters within which they function, and they really don't end up expressing their innate self, their passion, their mission, the thing that they came to contribute to the planet, because they're plugged down in this environment where they aren't allowed. Huh? They're no.
So in 1883, Galton, remember our friend Galton?
Oh yeah, Francis.
Francis Galton, the family of Darwin?
Yeah,
cousin?
Darwin's cousin.
Cousin, right? Galton published inquiries into human faculty and development, and created a new term for his discipline. He played with many names for his new science. We can still make science, eh? Finally, he scrawled Greek. Like I'm reading this and I'm like amazed, like how intricate they go. He scrawled Greek letters on hand-sized scrap paper, and next to them, the two English fragments he would join into one. The Greek word for well was abutted to the Greek word for born. In a flourish, Galton invented a term that would tantalize his contemporaries, inspire his disciples, obsess his later followers, and eventually slash through the 20th century like a sword. That almost sounds biblical. The finest and the fiendish would adopt the new term as their driving mantra. Families would be shattered, generations would be wiped away, whole peoples would be nearly erased, all in the name of Galton's word. The word he wrote on that small piece of paper was eugenics. Eugenics was a proto-science in search of vindicating data. Galton had described the eugenically well-born man as a trend in science, but he desperately sought to quantify the biological process. Right? So he's all about the divine narcissism. Eugenics program could play God deciding who would be born and who would not. Indeed, the notion of constructing a brave new world. Isn't there a book like that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was never
Interesting.
receded. So once again in the show, the books are there for you to see and actually know that these people didn't play then. What makes you think that they forgot all about that? And to answer to those folks who are like, well, I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't there. I think that's also that part of the biblical prophecy. It's not that, well, you can't do anything about it. It's about being aware of it, owning up to it as a nation, and then hopefully folks can move on. But once you have this thing, look at these people. They're long dead. I'm sure they got some great, great, great niece, great grandchild, something that they're still going to this place.
Well, notice that they don't put the serving people
Oh no!
throughout the crowd.
Yeah. They probably hid them.
I wonder what
Yeah.
what race they're from. And eugenics. Francis Galton talked about the survival of the fittest.
Yes,
right.
survival of
And
the
he was
fittest.
looking at animals at the time.
Right.
But down through the ages, it has evolved from the most intelligent people
Yes.
to the strongest people. Fittest used to be the most intelligent
Yes.
because they were most capable of solving and resolving and
Now they're a bunch of
discussing.
gangsters.
Now we've moved into might is right, and so
Right.
the fittest are the ones who can bully their way through.
From 1621, with the establishment of a British settlement in Nova Scotia, which is now unfortunately in a flood, if not fire, the British Union flag was used. And Canada underwent Confederation in 1867, becoming the Dominion of Canada. I would still say it's literally still the Dominion of Canada. The 3 British colonies in Canada became 4, at one time 4 provinces. The need arose for a distinctive Canadian flag. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Who's your daddy? Who's your mama, Canada? There they are, right? George V. And the 10 Commandments, as codified in Canadian law, we were taught. I think this had piqued your interest when I was talking about the 10 Commandments as codified, but under the law of Moses, the Noahide laws. And this, of course, the 10 Commandments as codified in modern Canadian law, right? Were given to by Moses. Moses brought the tablets down. This is just a preview as to, see, published by your friendly neighborhood Grand Council of the Allied Masonic Degrees of Canada.
Yeah, and there's the
And
Masonic.
look at that, boom.
Yeah.
2000. So this is also for read how our Canadian laws work, because we forgot about that, eh? All throughout the last 3 years, we lost our constitution, but somehow this looks like a good read, right? Because it's telling you about, let's say, the type of stereotypes and bigotry that we might see still today in this country. Now, I don't know about eugenics, but
How about masonry? There's something called the United Grand Lodge of England, and it supposedly recognizes other lodges around the world for association. Apparently, if you're a black person, it's you can't join a regular lodge. They won't let you in. There's something called the Prince Hall lodges.
the lodge, yes, the Prince
The
Hall.
alternative.
Yeah. There's segregation.
There you go. The 10 Commandments as codified in Canadian law. So this makes it a very good read because, they got some of these laws here, and it's like, but I don't know if we really follow them. Thou shalt not have any. Look at number 2. Thou not make any graven image, any likeness, anything that's above the word. Thou shalt not bow down to them, for I am a jealous God. They got all this stuff up in them. Fathers upon children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of to them that hate me. That sounds deep, Israelites, and maybe these white old guys believe they know about the Israelites, and they're like, well, we could still use this because it looks more detailed than the actual 10 Commandments. Look at that, right? Remember the Sabbath day. We don't do that, right? 6 days labor and do thy work. The 7th day, that's not, no. But they're starting after COVID, eh? They started to go back to regular hours. Honor your mother, father. Don't kill, don't steal, bear false witness, everything. I will discuss them as they were presented by God to Moses, and then in turn to the children of Israel. So, welcome to Canada. Look at that. You can actually take a look at that because I love how Americans love to talk about, thinking that we're all sort of monolithic in with the African American. And while there are cousins and families, we Black Canadians don't identify as African American. There's reasons for that. Not to say that there's a hate, but our history in the context of the racism we experience here, it's not. It just never was as brutal, even though it's just as bad. So I say this to my American audience: be mindful about how you put all of us into that same black basket, because I see what's going on. I see even there's a couple of shows out there on YouTube trying to show that there's racism, yes, everywhere, and in Canada and in here. And it's like, yes, but the Black Canadian experience and the people, even up until now. Well, now with the hip hop thing, yes, it's been there, but there's a lot more of us still, even of my generation, and even younger, who are more. The word is well, not educated, but more not
Savvy.
coherent,
Savvy,
savvy,
sophisticated.
sophisticated. Call it, yeah, we got that. We got the niggerisms here, but I hear a lot of them, like America's fucked up. They're chopping your heads out there. They're lynching you like it's out of style. It's true, and yes, it is kind of hilarious because you guys out there don't have enough cojones to really get together and do something about it. Your own people, right, are part of your military, as we've seen since the beginning of time. So, United States Afro Americans, while they are, we understand are the kingdom of Judah, and highly likely the ones who will come up with the Messiah in time. Yeah, you guys have to be so destroyed for that to happen. And I think this is what's going on.
Could I bring up something that I often look at uh, when I visit Google and YouTube, and it's in line with um, the Judaic tribes and the Israelis and all of this,
Mhm.
and it's the laws of Mott. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
They precede Hebraic law and Mosaic law and um, uh, Sahidic. Is it the
Acidic.
Muslim law?
Oh, yes. Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah.
The laws of MA apostrophe AT. There are 42 rules, and according to the Egyptian mythology,
Mm-hmm.
right, the soul appears before a committee, as it were, and it has to answer all of the questions in the negative. No, I did not. No, I did not. I did not. I did not.
Yes.
Right? And once you finish that, they weigh your heart against a feather to see if you're as light as the feather. Your spirit is your soul and spirit light enough to merge with the universe, with the
Mm-hmm. Your spirit light enough as the feather to
Yeah.
reach. Yes.
Yeah. and according to the information, our laws from Hebrew country, from Muslim country, from Christian country come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the Ten Commandments
Yes.
actually were just a compression and rephrasing of 10 of the 42 things.
But to follow the immediate 10, I'm like, hey, don't kill anybody. You think we get it? But no, our world is that since Cain, right? So
we aren't even following the
That's-
basic guidelines of how to live together.
exactly.
Right? Those are the basic things.
That's what's happening today. And once, like how we started the show, when we're talking about Martin Luther King, that's why, and I don't want to bash him. Once again, going back to the African American, 50 freaking years later, people knew what they did to this guy. Fast forward, look at us today. We've got black and as well white people sabotaging the nation, right? And this is why I kind of blow off Martin Luther King and the 60s. The 60s is dead. The 60s, I come from the 60s. It's over. So, in this episode, I want to put a rest finally to Martin Luther King, but also coming up to the next Black History, whatever nonsense in the next year. The idea is that it's time to reinvent ourselves because we're removed 3 generations now from this time. Like in this article, I found this very interesting because it gives you, once again, a deeper insight. This is the web page where if you ever want to see it, I also on my page you can download the document. But look at this, 50 years later. Okay, so now, yeah, 50 years. William Pepper and the Family King. He's the guy who filed the civil case in Memphis against a man who admitted he was involved. That's Lloyd Jarvis. We were reading it earlier. He's the owner of a restaurant near where King was assassinated. Vital information about the 1999 civil rights trial is extensively revealed in a powerful 1-hour interview, right, where Pepper sits down, So there's an actual radio interview. I don't know if that actually, let's see if it does exist, but just before, I'll probably give you some of the content. So this is a book, his newly published volume, The Plot to Kill King. So this is an actual book, the truth behind the assassination of Martin Luther King. It's on Amazon. I did read you some excerpts from it, right? This is the book. You can get it in audio. Just before, and the reason why I'm
2.1 KFCF in Fresno.
let's see if we get.
He was, however, alive. He was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital, emergency room. They were working on him in the emergency room. The chief of neurosurgery, the head neurosurgeon, doctor named Breen Bland, B-L-A-N-D, who was also the family doctor for the Dixie Mafia family, the Adkins family, came in with two men in suits and told the people, stop working on that nigger, get out and just let him die.
And that's a quote that you
Yeah. because they had to call it a conspiracy. You know, a conspiracy is done in order to cover up a lie, right? So so much for that. They had to call it a conspiracy because it was. These guys conspired to spit loogies on the guy, and they conspired to put a pillow. You know what? They had to sleep through that overnight. They had to meet a few nights before and have a few beers, or probably have a few cigars, whatever they did, and until the day to do it. Case in point, I found this a very interesting read before we put Martin Luther King
To
to
rest.
rest,
May
right?
his soul rest
May
in
his
peace.
soul rest in peace.
We
May,
thank him for having a dream
yep,
and letting us continue
yep.
dreaming.
And so much that we're still dreaming and we haven't
Dream
woken up.
on.
We haven't woken up. So this is not, once again, not to put down that era, but the era's gone, right? And also at the same time to be aware that there are some wicked forces out there, whether it be black and white, who will twist it. Especially now that this truth came out. Look at this.
The spin master.
The spin master. So I'm just gonna once again pick and choose, all right? Pick and choose. So James Earl Ray had no involvement. So you take that how you want. Most people know they say it was James Earl Ray. Now we know, if you want the facts, he wasn't involved. Well, they had determined that they were going to kill him because of the two issues we've been discussing. The Vietnam War was a very important monetary issue for major American corporations. You know, at one point, John Downey, who was the head, hear my words, audience, who was the head of the military intelligence group, the 90 what? The 902 the 902nd, because that's military fucking counting. The 902nd Military Intelligence Group. This is 1968 now. Okay? Used to brief Lyndon Johnson, President Johnson, on a very, so that nigger knew what was going on. And every time he would come back from Vietnam, I didn't even know Johnson was going to Vietnam, you know. I always thought he was just chilling and but I guess he went there to see how things were going, eh? Huh, who would have figured? He would brief him and he would ask him, why are we there? Why are we losing blood and treasure? What's behind all of this? What's the reason for it? It doesn't make any sense. And Johnson would ignore him for the most part. And then finally, one day, I guess he had too much or whatever. He pounded the table and he said, John, I can't get out of Vietnam. My friends are making too much money. So we do know that Martin Luther King had something to say about what was it, the sanitation, and that was then when he got shot. He was supposed to show up for a sanitation protest because that was a lot of people don't know that. They think he got shot for just talking about this. No, he was actually going further up until April. The civil rights thing was there, but he was kind of letting it go because he knew he could only go so far. The FBI had information on him that he was whatever, a philanderer, probably into some kinky shit, right? Because J. Edgar Hoover was kinky. He was a rabid gay guy who wore a dress, and his name was Maria. So the FBI strategy, still to today, is to get any sexual picadillo you got on people and you can embarrass them. That's the whole thing. So Martin Luther King was told to kill himself by the FBI. They said, kill yourself because we're going to let your secret go. And that's why at the end of his few popular speeches, you see him sweating shit bricks because he didn't want probably the world to know he was into golden showers or some fucking weird thing like that. And he was like saying, I brought you all into a burning building. We always miss that. Everybody talks about that fucking dream. Well, I'm the dream, okay? We're the kids who play together. Then, right after we're born, he's like, well, you know what? I brought you guys into a burning building. The roof is on fire. We don't need no water. Let the motherfucker burn. Burn, motherfucker, burn. That's where that came from. So he brought us into that, and he knew that his time was up. And when he said his last campaign was to get an increase in wages and whatever comes with that, with the job for sanitation workers. And it was supposed to be and not. So he wasn't even there to talk about any race thing. He was actually talking about Vietnam. We're killing our people in Vietnam, and we got to pay sanitation worker. And they said, you know what? That nigga's too smart. He's gonna run for president and get us. But then we have the Dixie fucking mafia. So when people talk about, as we're wrapping up on the date, when people talk about Israel united in Christ, and they get all cheeky and oh, they're all anti-Semitic, I just play them this. Oh, and I'll give you some sound with it too.
Go ahead.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
See that part right there? And he shall speak.
Let's go back. All of that to show you this.
Meaning he was greater. This horn that came up was greater than Spain, greater than France, greater than Britain. How so? This horn had eyes. Eyes mean what? Vision.
So Bishop Nathaniel here is talking about the 7 heads. It's all biblical, the 10 horns. So isn't that fucking crazy? The 7 heads: Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain. The 8th head, America. Isn't that NATO? 10 horns: Belgium, Italy, Greece, France, Denmark, Ireland, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Germany, and the United Kingdom. So they're basically, a lot of white people get it, actually. A lot of KKK members even get it. But there's a lot of folks who are just not going to have it. And you know what? It's black people who are not getting it.
16.
Verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
See that? Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
Now, the reason why, once again, as we're, once again, I'm enjoying my guests here. I'd like to thank them for coming. We're not done just yet. But the reason why I implore you, white and black, to start listening to the Israelites is because, so Martin Luther King died, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers are gone, the 70s, the 80s happened. This guy here, Bishop Nathaniel, is an ex-cop. Big time. People say, oh, he's a sellout. No, he doesn't work with the police force no more. He put in his full time. A lot of these gentlemen are psychiatrists, doctors, and lawyers. What happened was in the late 60s and the 80s, we always knew there were Israelites who were coming from Africa. But there was one teacher, a grand teacher. He had passed away recently. I can't recall the name. They created this school in Harlem, if I'm correct, called One West. And One West was where they started to study the book. And so many other different camps have come out of that. IUIC with Bishop Nathaniel, he had been there from the last 30 years with the teaching. You have other camps that are coming around. The Sakari is another one, right? But it's very biblical. What I'm amazed is it's almost biblical coming true again, because these guys, not all of them, because even they're telling you now they've been infiltrated. They're telling you they've been in. They don't know who, but they've been infiltrated and they expect to die. Yes, that's how real the shit is. So when they're talking like that, I'm like, oh, well, they're alive. They've been around. They know. So what's happening is we're seeing the revelation of the biblical prophets that J. Edgar Hoover didn't want to see happen slip through the crack. Here they are. These motherfuckers right here, God bless them all, they're the prophets. Because we know, and what this guy's been telling people, his life, the African American, they were the ones who came from the kingdom of Judah. So it's those guys, the lineage of Jesus Christ. Anyway, call me crazy. So what I love about this is the best thing since sliced bread. It's not about gangs, it's not Bloods, it's not Crips, it's not nigga, it's not baby mama. It's none of the stereotypical worst things that you've heard. It's not about boxing each other, punching each other. It's none of that. These guys are saying it's a rap. It's a rap for the Church of Satan. And they're giving you the facts that, well, the Bible was written as it was. It had changed, but it's not the book of the people that claim they are the Jews. It's our book. So when you're reading it, what I've learned with these guys is everything we've been taught is wrong. And we know because history tells us, fuck, we did it again before. These guys, and you know, God forbid, but they're telling us. They said they're walking targets, and just like Christ with the Pharisees. Okay, these are our prophets. We're going to start to see the Pharisees in our time, who are probably other camps who are saying they're Hebrew, black Hebrew. There's no such thing. Let me make it clear, audience. There's no such thing as a black Hebrew Israelite. I am an Israelite by bloodline. I'm a Jew by bloodline. So the term black, we obliterated that because black came from other dickheads who were saying, well, let's call it eugenesis and we'll say black and white. And then we'll create, oh, I'm a warrior. I'm going to call it Africa. It was a white woman who named Nigeria, Nigeria. So the book, as he's talking about, you have to read it with a different.
Go ahead.
No one of these shall fail.
When it says no one of these shall fail, that means none of the prophecies in this Bible shall fail. Let me give an example. 1 Kings 8:56. We coming right back, Leon.
You can never go back to a regular church after talk. I couldn't, because he's not preaching.
The book of 1 Kings 8 and verse 56.
Steve, is that the heat of the book?
Blessed be the Lord that have given rest unto his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There have not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant.
See that? They have not failed one word of all his good promise. Not one word will fail. So when we go back to Isaiah 34:16, let's read that one more again.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail.
People often ask, how do you know the Bible's a true book? When you go through Deuteronomy 28:15 down about slavery and oppression and colonialism, you ask the brother, did that happen? Yes. They have to admit, yes, that happened to us. Then as sure as that happened, all the other writings and prophecies about deliverance, guess what, brothers? It's going to happen too. Everybody understand that? Read on, Leon.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate.
You can't mate the Bible with no other book. Go ahead.
For my mouth it hath commanded.
God's mouth commanded these words. Go ahead.
And his spirit it hath gathered them.
And his spirit it hath gathered them. So now we were talking about Rome. So what I showed you is what Christ taught, what the spirit of Christ through Paul taught regarding our records, the Bible. To constantly read it, be in meditation on it, okay? Read every word. None of the words of this book shall fail. How Christ taught the law, magnified the law, and made it honorable. So I also said that America is an extension of ancient Rome. That fourth beast, so we're going to discuss that fourth beast as America today and what happened to the 12 tribes of Israel. Back to Daniel 7. Because Daniel talked about a lot of things. Not that Daniel understood everything, because he didn't.
Now, in our case, what I've learned from these guys in the last 3 years is that the Old Testament plays itself through all through Moses. We didn't get the shit, once again, knowing the commandments. Fast forward, you had Jesus Christ, the same fucking thing. The same people didn't listen, they killed him. So the third and the resurrection, this shit's happening now, and the prophets are telling you, get ready for it. But because we are so wicked as the people, even if we saw Jesus today, we'd probably kill him again. Again, we'll probably do him. So these guys are saying, give it up.
But he understands a lot
because
more.
They'll take us all out before.
I said something right there. Y'all didn't catch that, but it's all right. Daniel 7:19.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast. Go ahead.
Which was diverse from all the others.
Which was different from all the other beasts. Go ahead.
Exceeding dreadful.
This beast is exceeding dreadful.
Whose teeth were of iron.
The teeth were like iron.
And his nails of brass.
Nails like brass.
Which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
See that part right there again? Stamped the residue with the feet. Meaning put their philosophies. When they stamped you, they left that imprint on you. Democracy, Christianity, whatever it is, that's what they put in your brain. What verse was that, Leo?
That was verse 19.
Go ahead.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up,
Put it back up to 10 horns again, because like I said, them 10 horns is the same 10 horns today.
Their countries.
There you
Read that
go.
again, Leon.
Yes, sir. And of the 10 horns that were in his head,
Kaisers.
and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell.
The 3 that fell. France fell. That's the French-American War. Britain fell. That was the War of Independence. And Spain fell. That was the Spanish-American War. Now, when they lost the war against what became the United States of America, I want y'all to listen good. All the French did not leave this country. All the Spanish did not leave this country. All the British did not leave this country. Those that remained behind, they formed themselves a more perfect union. Everybody understand that? And they became the United States of America. That's how it began. Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
Read that again, Leon.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell. Even
so
of
when it says, and of the other which came up, that's America. That part right there.
Right.
That part right there is America. And I'm going to slip right by me, but read it again, verse 20.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell.
So 3 fell before that other which came up, which was America. Go ahead.
Even of that horn.
Even of that horn, America.
That had eyes.
That had eyes. He had vision. This horn had vision. Go ahead.
And a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Meaning he was greater. This horn that came up was greater than Spain, greater than France, greater than Britain. How so? This horn had eyes. Eyes mean what? Vision. The Industrial Revolution. What's this country here? All the great inventions, including airplanes, flying, going to the moon.
5 eyes.
Nuclear war, the bombs, the missiles. Here. Guns, that's this place here. Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
France had to get their technology from here. Spain got their technology from here. Britain got their technology from America here. So read that part again, Liam. And it had the part about the eye and the horn, even of that horn.
Even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things.
So that mouth is their media. That mouth is their media that is global. Go ahead.
Whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Whose look, they became greater than their fellows. All the other European countries, America's greater than every last one of them. You understand that?
Yes,
that's why in the New Testament, it calls this place Babylon the what?
The Great.
The Great. It's the greatest nation on earth.
Now,
Everybody understand that? All right. I hope y'all do. I hope y'all do. Right. This is their media.
Council of
Their media is the greatest. It's the mouth that speaks great things. The lies against God, against the Bible, against the Israelites. Their media is worldwide. Their media even dictates what the other European media says.
Now, this is deep because, well, there was a time I missed it. Notice on top, American Empire and its media, Council of Foreign Relations. Who are those motherfuckers? They run the world. Bilderberg. Well, everybody's heard of that jackass. And the Trilateral Commission. So, let the bishop say it.
I hope y'all understand that. Okay. Very good. Now from there, over to Leon.
Yes, sir.
Give me 2nd Ezra 11:39.
Second Ezra chapter 11 and verse 39. Art not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts?
So we're still talking about the 4th beast. Go ahead.
Whom I made to reign in my world?
You see what Christ said? To whom I made to reign in my world. Go ahead.
That the end of their times might come through them.
So the end of the world is going to come through America and her allies. Go ahead.
And the 4th came.
And the 4th came. What verse you at?
That was verse 40. This is verse 40.
You at verse 40. Go ahead.
And the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past and had power over the world.
You see that? It overcame all the beasts that were past and had power over the world.
WHO.
Let me show you that. It had power. Give me that Revelation 17. I think it's the last verse. About that whore. See, there are many similitudes that reference America that churches all ignore. They go, oh, nobody knows who. Maybe it's just the Vatican. Oh, you think it's just the Vatican? Okay. You're wrong, Pastor. You don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Revelation 17, read that.
Revelation 17 and verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city.
Read, put it on the screen. Hey. Read verse, let me look at Liam. Read verse 1. Let me hear about she sat on the beast with 7 heads. I'm not looking at it, so I need you to get it for me.
Revelation chapter 17 and 1.
City is.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore.
The great whore.
That sitteth upon many waters.
That sitteth upon many waters.
With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit of the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So 7 heads and 10 horns. Now we want to know who this whore is. Jump down to the last verse for time's sake.
And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
Y'all see that? That woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. That's what I wanted right there. Why? Because when we go back off Siliam,
Second Esdras, chapter 11 and verse 40, and the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world.
See that? And had power over the world. This is that same whore. It's just using a different similitude. Everybody understand that? I hope y'all taking notes. Go ahead.
With great fearfulness.
With great fearfulness.
And over the whole compass of the earth.
And over the whole compass of the earth.
Which with much wicked oppression.
With much wicked oppression. Go ahead.
And so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit.
With what?
With deceit.
With what?
With deceit.
With deceit. Now chapter 12, verse 10 to 13, we're going to read.
Second Esdras chapter 12 and verse 10. And he said unto me, this...
Hey, do you have the eagle? Not the regular eagle. I want the Esdras eagle. I don't know if y'all got that one. I know I just sprung that on you. It's all right. Officer Liam, read.
Second Esdras 12 and 10. And he said unto me, this is the interpretation of the vision. The eagle, whom thou sawest come up from the sea, is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel.
So the angel is telling Esdras that vision, that dream that Daniel saw, Daniel didn't understand it, but the angel is revealing it to Esdras. He said that was an eagle. Read it again, Leon.
The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea.
You go, if you don't have it, Officer Joseph, just find me any eagle. Oh yeah, that's it right there. Go ahead, because right, it said the eagle had 3 heads. Go ahead, 3 main heads. Go ahead, read it again.
The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. But it was not expounded unto...
Now tell me, if you had learned this shit when you were kids, wouldn't it be more interesting? The way these guys are explaining it? I've never heard, I'm like, wait a minute. Eagle. Fucking America.
Oh, I heard about this when I was a kid. Herbert W. Armstrong had it.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard about that, yes.
So these
and that
to him.
See that part right there? But it was not
the clock.
expounded unto him. It was not explained to Daniel. Go ahead.
Therefore now I declare it unto thee.
What verse you at?
That was verse 12.
Verse 12, go ahead.
Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth.
Can you put up the next eagle? The one with the modern day eagle. That's fine. Go ahead.
Behold, the days will come that there shall rise up a kingdom upon earth, and it shall be feared upon all the kingdoms that were before it.
It shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it. So again, it started with Rome and ends with America. It's the same eagle, same eagle, same eagle. Everybody understand that? All right. Good. We're cooking with gas right now. From there, give me Daniel 7:23. Right. That was the Roman symbol right there, is the eagle. Very good. That was Rome. Okay, and this is America. It's the same beast. The same beast. Y'all let these churches fool you if you want. Shame on you. Daniel 7:23.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth.
And this is, of course, a preview.
Fourth.
Shout out to Captain Gedaliah. We running off the damn plantation, and the Christians want to keep us on there. This young boy had sense. It doesn't even give his age. Read, obviously, I think give his age.
The little boy in the illustration was about 7 years old.
A 7-year-old black child had sense enough to run from the damn plantation. But the Christian black apologists ain't figured that out. Time to run. Time to leave massa. They ain't figured out. A little 7-year-old got more sense than them. Go ahead, Leon.
The little boy in this illustration was about 7 years old and had carried the immense log, weighing over 32 pounds.
32 pounds on your head. Go ahead.
And the heavy chain for over a year.
For over a year. Wow.
Mr. Firminger was afterwards able to procure the boy's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So this is once again a preview. Thank you very much for joining into the date. It's now 4:34.
The English came later.
To give you a little taste.
All of these
We'll wrap it
people
up
came saying that they are Christ. And they had images of Christ. Give me the image they had. Hold it up. I mean, put it on the screen.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Not that one. I want the original. That's the painting, which is fine. But I want the actual book. Nope. Come on, y'all. It's right there.
Come on, IT. There we go.
In this book, The Pillory, zoom in at the bottom. I want the bottom text.
So this is Jesus that you know, that we grew up with.
Read that.
Here's the story.
The original of this bust was found in the church of San Salvatore in Termis, now destroyed. It is an open secret.
And that part, open secret, means only the white elites knew about it. It was open to their people. Read that again.
It is an open secret that Caesar Borgia, the son of Pope Alexander, had posed for it.
Let's look at it now. Bring it down.
The son of Pope Alexander?
Salvatore is Spanish for savior. Salvatore is Spanish for savior. Lower it.
There were women too.
Look at that. Caesar Borgia with the crown of thorns on his head. He posed as Jesus Christ. This is the image they took throughout the world. Give me the next page of the book. Zoom in at the bottom. So we're not making nothing up. Read that.
Bust of the Savior posed for by Cesare Borgia. It was removed from the church of San Salvatore in Termis, now destroyed, to the monumental morgue of St. Louis Church, where it may still be seen and is shown by the guide as the bust of the relative of a famous pope.
Yeah, the famous pope was Alexander, Pope Alexander VI of Rome, but this is his son, Caesar Borgia. He posed as the savior. So there's books on it. So it amazes me when people Christians want to argue with us. No, you're making shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Just be quiet. Give me Job 9:24.
So as you see, this guy's not playing, and this is thus why I implore you to, and of course my audience and friends and all you crazy ass white supremacists and everything, to take a look at what our rabbi's saying. Here, I'll give you one more, because this is always a little bit of gold that you got to know about the history.
Would return us or have us go against Islam. That's why they burnt up all our records. Read that.
Those of Upper Ethiopia worshiped the Lord of heaven before the Queen of Sheba went to Solomon to be instructed in the law of Moses and the prophets. When they embraced Judaism, as did also some of the inhabitants of Lower Ethiopia, who continued in it till they were taught Christianity by the queen of Candace's eunuch, who was baptized by
Philip. Read that section.
Some of the Jews who inhabit both sides of the Niger derived themselves from Abraham. Others fled hither.
So it's telling you that what people call the Africans today, or Negroes, it's calling them Jews. Read that again.
Some of the Jews who inhabit both sides of the Niger derived themselves from Abraham. Others fled hither from Asia when Vespasian destroyed Jerusalem.
So it's letting you know some of them Jews, those black Jews, went into Africa fleeing the destruction of Jerusalem. Go ahead.
Or from Judea when
'twas
wasted by the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians. Some were banished from Italy in 1342, from Spain in 1462, from the Low Countries.
Low Countries is the Netherlands. They call it Netherlands, the Low Countries. Go
From
ahead.
the Low Countries in 1350, from France in 1403, and from England in 1422. These
all defer.
Thank you. These all defer in
inhabit
and are divided into several wealthy and numerous tribes, but have no dominion and despised of all nations.
So everybody hated our people, the Jews that was throughout Africa. Everybody see that? Now, I didn't write this book. I didn't make it up. This is what their so-called scholars put together. Okay? Give me the next book, please. I mean, next page.
And thus, that's where I get my books online, and I share them with you.
Watch what this boss say. I like this. Have me laughing.
They are so fond of their own black complexion and so much abhor a white one.
Damn!
That in contempt they paint the devil white.
Wow. They're never going to teach you that in Sunday school. That just make my teeth white. That's all I wanted out of that. Hey, give me Psalms 106, verse 30. No, I didn't write the book. White folks wrote the book. That's what they found throughout Africa. Psalms 106, verse 35, please.
The book of Psalms, chapter 106, verse 35. But were mingled among the heathen.
Read the verse above it.
Yes, sir. Psalm 106, verse 34.
And this is the last taste of it, as you see.
Go ahead.
And who is sufficient for these things?
Who's sufficient? I mean, who can understand these things? Go ahead.
For we are not as many.
For brothers, listen, we Israelites are not as many.
Which corrupt the word of God.
We don't pervert the gospel. We're telling you as it is written. Go ahead.
But as of sincerity.
But as of sincerity. We teach out of sincere heart. Go ahead.
But as of God. And the sight of God speak we in Christ.
So we don't corrupt this Bible. Everybody understand that? I hope you do. I hope you do. Give me Isaiah 29 and 14.
Isaiah chapter 29.
All I want is verse 14.
14. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work.
God said, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work. Go ahead.
Amongst this people. Even a marvelous work and a wonder.
Even a marvelous work and a wonder. Go ahead.
For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish.
How will the wisdom of their wise men perish? By you men teaching. Brothers out there teaching. That's how their wisdom shall perish. All the lies established by the Christian Roman Church, the Protestant Roman Church, is being extinguished now.
So now you
being destroyed. Read again.
For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish. And the
hey, put them devils back up on the screen. Put their wise men back up on the screen. Yeah, that's it. Read it again, Leon.
Good.
Verse
For the
14.
wisdom.
14.
Yes, for.
Hold on. Yeah. Oh, hold on, guys. Man-made religions, Colossians 2:8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. Look at this guy, the father of hermeneutics. Baptist religion, Mormon religion, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, Pentecostal, all of these nerds, all in the 18th century.
For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men.
These are their wise men and these are their prudent men.
Shall be hid. Woe unto that was the bishop.
Oh, that was it. So 1 Corinthians 1:19. Here's the precept.
Precept.
1 Corinthians 1:19.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 19. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise.
The wise is these white folks. Go ahead.
And will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent.
The prudent is these white folks. God said, I'm going to destroy their wisdom. Okay, read.
Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world?
Who's the disputer of who stands up for white folks? Where are you at?
Right.
Because everything you bring out, we're going to prove you's a liar according to the Bible. Go ahead.
Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world?
All the white man's wisdom is foolishness. Go ahead.
For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God.
It pleased God.
By the foolishness of preaching.
By the foolishness of us preaching.
To save them that believe.
To save them that believe. Everybody understand that? That's some good stuff right there.
This is
Hebrews 4:12.
It's scary for a lot of folks, yeah.
You brothers, us brothers, we must learn our records. Hebrews 4:12.
Hebrews.
So this is the general vision.
Don't need that now.
This is what America's looking forward to, as these guys are saying it.
But it's already been.
Yeah.
And his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things.
The Lord's going to destroy their military. Okay. So when we go back, y'all can put that on the screen.
They're going to destroy themselves because.
So it's going to be war. So that's what it means when the Lord says that. So go back to Micah. What are you going to say?
Right. And when it says that he have did great things, the great things is the murders that he's going to do around that time. Okay, it's when the dragon is wrought and will come to make war. That's the great things that he's going to do at that time.
Back to Micah 5 and 6.
Micah 5 and 6.
So,
and they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod and the entrances thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian.
When? Go ahead.
When he cometh into our land.
When World War III pop off,
and when
Armageddon pop off, when the Northern Army says, hey, we got to leave these Israelites alone and we got to go to the land of Israel and fight.
That's it.
Read that again.
When he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders.
Give me the next image. Give me those next image. Not those.
Come on, IT. Because everybody's
talking
about IT. Once again, this is the date, and I've got my guest here.
Right. I think y'all got two. Read that again, Liam.
When he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders.
Right. Read.
And the remnant.
Now, what? Okay, you can take him down now, Joseph. I don't need that now. Go ahead, verse 7.
And the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people.
Now, this is when we're in the wilderness. I want y'all to get your minds right. Because a lot of things happen. Okay? So now, remember a verse above it, it says, thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian. Deliver us and take us where? To the wilderness. Now in verse 7 it says,
and the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many people.
Give me the next image. We're going to be in the midst of many people. Go ahead.
As a dew from the Lord.
Y'all can flip through those pictures that y'all got there. Go ahead.
As a dew from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass, that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men.
Because Christ is our king. He's going to command us. Go ahead.
And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles.
And the remnant of Jacob, our people, shall be among the nations. Go ahead.
In the midst of many people.
As what?
As a lion among the beasts of the forest.
You know when a lion come, the beasts of the forest move the hell out his way. Go ahead.
As a young lion among the flocks of sheep.
What can sheep do to a lion? Nothing but be food. Go ahead.
Who, if he go through.
If this lion goes through sheep, go ahead.
Both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver.
That's how we going to be amongst the nations, brothers.
So, this is happening all over the world. Here in Israel, Japan, France, Brazil. We got in Toronto, Montreal, and this is what's happening. And this is the beauty. They're not ganging up They're actually going into gang areas. They're getting shot at by the gang, but they're ready for it. I haven't seen any Christian teenager ready to die for it. And of course, I know
Honestly, this message today, I feel very convicted, I feel very influenced, and I feel very loved. The message that's being spread to Erickson Central is a message that needs to be heard by all of the chosen people. It's amazing. Get down here, listen to the message, and feel the love that is in the air. I feel so appreciated, and I thank you guys so much.
Jesus Christ had hair white in color, woolly in texture, just like your beautiful black hair that I'm looking at right now.
Right. So like that's us teaching our people who they really are. Do you think that us doing that we're a hate group?
Of course not. We are not a hate group. We're just saying the truth. People who are saying the truth, they label us as a hate group. Everything that we say it's true, they always say it's a hate group.
That's right.
Anywhere from freedom or whatever, they always say it's a hate group.
All praises to the Most High. IURC Seattle and Canada had boots on the ground in Surrey, British Columbia. The Most High definitely got the victory as the people happily listened and received the word. The people are eager to learn more and is also looking forward to a local sanctuary to be established. Please subscribe to IURC Seattle and all Canadian channels on YouTube. All praises to the Most High. Let's go to the next one.
All praises to the Most High. So this is what they're doing all over. We have during Markham.
I'm calling all soldiers.
And there's out.
Hey, Shalom, Mosiah in Christ bless. I'm Officer Elijah. I'm Officer Ruben. Officer Ruben, what are we doing over here today?
So we out here to cast down all imaginations. Our people are still caught up in the midst of drunkenness spiritually, thinking that they are independent, calling themselves Bahamians. We are out here to burn that down and teach our people who they are according to the Bible.
This Bible is a true book, and they got to repent before the day of judgment comes. With that, pray for us, pray for laborers. Mosiah in Christ bless.
Mosiah in Christ bless.
All praise to the Most High.
Pretty much, this is what J. Edgar Hoover, in 1968, right after they killed Martin Luther King, goodbye Martin, after a few years before they killed Malcolm X, goodbye Malcolm, this is what fucking time it is. We're back, we're blacker, and we're madder. I, myself, I'm not afraid of what happens after life because I've already been getting my ass kicked. So the mentality is, when we see a people who hate themselves so much, they hate each other and they kill themselves, eugenics is working. if we wipe ourselves out by our own hands, even the white supremacists are freaking. They're like, fuck, those niggers are real good. We knew that if we gave them the power, they would excel everything and make us look bad because they invented everything, even though we're not telling you that. But guess what? If we could just keep them ignorant for 50 years, we've done it. We'll take Martin Luther. No, that's not happening no more because the prophets were born after they survived, and this is the fear of the American government. Because once you see these boys walking in the street, doing what they do, right? It's gonna mess up the system. It messes up the program. They're in Africa. Slowly, not all Africans are down with that. Not all Africans.
Just read it in the New Testament. Watch what it says now.
The book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel.
God said, you shall know that I'm in the midst of Israel. Why? Because he gave us his laws. He has a relationship with us.
And that I am the Lord, your God.
And I'm your God because I give you my laws. I didn't give anybody else the laws.
So for him,
and none else.
And I'm nobody else.
All for the white Jesus.
I believe what he said. I told you more. I don't believe
because the greatest.
What are his black? What are his white?
So
for me, I don't have
we're not even white. Like
it doesn't matter because it's written about
that's the problem. So it's not about who we want, it's just that, hey, we're guys can accept that. We can, like ourselves, and hey, you mean Jesus is like me? That they systematically
All praises.
copy that. He said, nah.
Get it right. The true understanding of the Bible was brought out on the airwaves and in the streets of Liberia as IUIC continues to break ground on the dark continent. Mission number 55 was a success, and the gospel is spreading like a wildfire. Who wants to smoke? We got smoke to give out.
We got smoke to give out. We're giving smoke. So essentially, the captains, so Eritrea. So
Eritrea.
Yeah, Eritrea. So now
that's where the Ark of the Covenant.
And believe it or not, and we're taking
Spiritual weapons get cut where they get the flexing. Trying to tell them how to get these blessings. Line upon line, gotta build like Tetris. But they don't wanna hear it like lectures. They blind on these spirits so reckless. But they my folks, so I gotta keep pressing. Stand on my feet and deliver the message. Cause these mothers out here keep stressing. And my brothers got Smith and Wesson. Ready to bang on one of their own when the real enemy is they oppressors. Adam and Eve, they walking naked. When Alpha Omega get this stepping. Gonna see blood all on his vesture. Better think twice if you trying to test them. Bless them. Black baby Jesus. Trying to walk in my savior sneakers. Bringing the gospel through your speakers. Praying destruction for these heathens. Leading my people all to freedom. Spiritual food, I'm trying to feed them. All of these demons gotta beat them. Heavenly Father, keep your covenant. We so wretched, we so evil.
All praises, all praises. Premiering tonight on Original Royalty Recordings. The first video release in the streets from Navi.
And there's we're starting with the Prince Young. So this is way better, and the image needs to be more positive. There are babies that they're wearing, like they're dressed like babies. So a lot of the black mothers are doing this because they're always going to have their child. That's it after.
So we have the IUIC Liberia children glorifying the Lord. 12 tribes scattered abroad. Stay tuned, Israel. All praises to the Most High. And that's the end of the announcements.
I've had so many friends who were so-called Jewish, but I never referred to them as Jewish. They've been friends, huh?
Yeah.
I've never had that dichotomy. Huh?
And the fact that it's ish. Now, they're not bad because a lot of those folks came into the world born 80 years ago and they had grandchildren, but they probably weren't even around to know the intricate, secretive, satanic element that they said. It's basically invading a country, taking it over and saying it's ours now. That's the story of Africa, and that's the story of what became the new and improved Israel, while it was already in Israel and Africa, way before that.
That was the Second Reich.
And
he talks about the fourth monster.
Exactly.
So the Fourth Reich.
So with that, definitely it tells us that there's a lot to learn. Any thoughts that you would have to say as we're wrapping up the date? Once again, I think we had an amazing episode today. I'm sure we might have knocked off maybe 3 hours of an episode. And once again, I think this is important, and I like to have my guests here. I know the fans have been asking, and once again, this is a show about the mundane, the stuff that you just don't see. Right? Like there's no. I mean, okay, I'm cool, I'm still hip, but I'm more on an anti-hip hop crusade right now because it's literally destroying the fuck out of everybody. I talk to some bros out there, I can't even make out what they're saying, and that's not cool. So any thoughts with the both of you, Steve and BANNMF?
I
Before
want
we
to
run.
apologize to Martin, that beautiful man.
Oh, yeah.
The planet didn't appreciate him.
The planet did not appreciate him.
And then we had to create lies, create conspiracies, and tell everybody the stupidity that was done to him at the end.
And it's on.
There's warning lights everywhere. Abort! Abort! We've lost comm. Look out. It's out of control. Are you okay?
Any thoughts, Steve?
Oh, that was quite revealing. There's so much material you have, and it takes a long time to kind of digest.
And we're just kind of talking it out. And holy crap, it's almost even raining today. But we're just talking it out. We're trying to make sense of it. And once again, this is the show. I'm the data jockey, streaming educational, factual, unadulterated lessons from world Black history, finding solutions to surviving, basic instructions before leaving the planted Earth, informational documentary streaming, historical, educational media, Fair Act disclaimer, because you know what? I gotta protect my black body. Fair Use Act disclaimer. This site is for educational purposes only. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit educational personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I reserve the right to say nigga, negro, and all the other good stuff. And I thought it was very good, action-packed in the sense action coming from the word of what we were doing. So our Father, art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on this earth as in heaven. Give us today and every day our daily bread. And please forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For that's the kingdom, power, glory, forever, ever. Amen. Any last words before we wrap up the show, my friend?
Dr. Ken McCall
said,
God will not deliver us from evil, but he will be with us as we go through temptation. He will be our strength as we are tempted by these baubles and these goobly-goos of our modern society.
And that's, my friend, is the date.
Be careful out there. That arm is not sure how long it's going to hold. There's warning lights everywhere. Abort! We've lost comm. Look out.
The bar!
It's out of control.
No, you're going to
Are you okay?